Hey guys. This is part 2 of What If Naruto Can Use Chakra Chains. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 5 Wave Mission. Thank you for protecting my father. I am his daughter Tsunami. A natural beauty greeted them at the door of Tazuna's home as she bowed to them. No problem at all. Naruto responded cheerily with an eye smile as he had an out-of-it Kakashi slung over his shoulder. The rest of the group looked at him dryly. There was very much so a problem, you dumbass, was the collective thought of the group. Tsunami smiled at them as she nodded to her father. You all must be tired. You are welcome to rest here during the duration of your mission if you wish to, though we don't have a whole lot to offer. Thank you for your hospitality. If you could show me to a room where I can drop off our lazy sensei, I would be grateful. Of course, right this way. She smiled warmly and led them all in. Naruto sly opened his eyes slightly and watched her back as she led them through the house. I wonder how far her hospitality will go. He lost his footing as a sharp pain suddenly went through his chest and he felt hot. His legs gave out, and he fell to the ground motionless, dropping Kakashi, who groaned. Sasuke just looked down at him and rose an eyebrow. Huh! Shit, I did a bad thing, Naruto said out loud to himself, which only further confused them. Naruto's eye twitched as he stared at Kuromi, who was laying on her side outside the territory of where she could go, as a gate marked the territory. Kuromi, what the hell? Oh, my apologies, I seem to have tripped. She had an emotionless expression as she refused to make eye contact with him. The response caused him to deadpan. Outside the seal? Accidents do happen. He stared at her there on the ground for a little longer. Sighing, he moved and picked her up bridal carry, causing her to blush. Reaching a small lake with a waterfall, he formed a couch, not caring how out of place it was, and dropped her roughly in it. Hey! You're alright. He left his mindscape to rejoin reality to see that he had been dropped off in a guest room. Gauging his senses, he could tell where everyone was in the house. Kakashi appeared to be resting in another room while everyone else was mostly in the bottom of the house. Naruto gathered his unique chakra in his hand before moving it over the seal on his stomach. In a poof of smoke, Kuromi appeared on the futon. Huh, what is it? Naruto, without saying a word, sat down behind her and gentle grabbed her tail as he brought out a brush. She shivered a bit when he started to brush her fur. She rose an eyebrow and looked back at him amused. Oh? Spoiling me again? Yeah, well, you seemed suddenly jealous of our hostess. She turned her head away, trying to look oblivious. I'm not sure what you mean. Naruto just shook his head and chuckled. I'm the one trying to get you freedom, and yet you're the one clinging to me. There is more to freedom than just no person having proprietary rights over me. Besides, I'm just being protective of my container. Who knows what diseases you could catch from the woman? Well, I wouldn't catch anything actually. I don't get sick, and Jinchuriki have both a healing factor and immunity against cancers and sexually transmitted diseases. That's an oddly specific piece of information you have, but that doesn't matter. I still don't want you getting too close to that female. Better safe than sorry. Yeah, you're jealous. He gave a sneaky grin at her neck as her ears twitched and her eyes shone in irritation. Just hurry up and finish grooming me. She felt compelled to punch him if he said anything else. She squeaked when Naruto's arms her shoulders to cross in front of her and pulled her in a deceptively intimate grasp. Don't worry, Kuromi-chan, I am your container after all. I'll continue to spoil you as long as you allow me to do so. I don't believe I actually gave you permission to do anything beforehand. Naruto's smile dropped for a second as his eyebrow twitched at her. You didn't have to verbally say it if your actions say otherwise like that. He shook the thought away and smiled again. Still though, having the Bijou Queen herself allow me to hold her this close. Well, I'd say that makes up for my childhood, at least a little. This caused her to grow somber as she looked down at the futon. Naruto's smile grew soft, seeing her reaction to mentioning his past. If it weren't for me, your life would have been better. I'm sorry for dash. He put a finger under her chin and turned her head to him. One thank you is worth 100 sorries. I can't say my life would be as interesting without you, so if anything I should be thanking you. She lightened up and returned his smile. Thank you for allowing me to be your friend, MMPH? Her eyes widened when Naruto planted his lips on hers. It was soft and sweet and lasted long enough for her to regain her thought processes. And in a blur her tail grabbed him and slammed him down onto the floor. Thump, the others were downstairs doing various things. Tsunami was in the kitchen while Sasuke was sharpening his kunai. Hearing the loud thump from upstairs, he looked up at the ceiling. The hell is the dope doing? Naruto blinked in a half-open gaze as he laid there spread out on the ground. Shit, did I read the mood wrong? Why you can't just go and do that suddenly? Well, in my defense, I felt you were about to friend-zone me, and this is one of those moments where a guy doesn't want to hear that. I don't know what any of that means, but it still sounds like a terrible excuse. Okay, fine, next time I do it, just stop me, okay? Next time, you're moving too fast. Time is short. I'm a ninja, so who knows how long time will favor me. He looked up at her as she stood over him. Her cheeks puffed out at him in frustration. For a bijou queen, you sure do get flustered like a schoolgirl pretty easily. But I find it cute. She glared at him for a few seconds before there was a poof of smoke, and she was seen in her fox form again. She laid down on the futon and closed her eyes. You have permission to continue grooming me, Naruto chuckled before he sat up and shook his head. Well, my beast is my responsibility after all. It was the next morning. Tsunami was kind enough to fix breakfast for them. Kakashi-sensei, what do you mean that ninja is still alive? Kakashi sipped at his tea while the others gathered around him at the table. Or rather, he just held it to his face. They had no idea how he was even going to drink that with his mask on. The news of the ninja who gave them so much trouble being alive was a concern that Sakura basically voiced for everyone else. Yar, so much noise this early in the morning? They looked to see Naruto walking down the stairs with Kuromi on his shoulder. Ah, Naruto, how good of you to join us. Naruto nodded to Kakashi in greeting. So I see you believe Zabuza is alive as well? The Jonin rose an eyebrow at that. Oh, so you figured it out as well? Yeah, I figured it out as it was going on. Zabuza may have appeared lifeless, and the hunter name might have been convincing, but a few things didn't add up. When a person sleeps or is paralyzed, their pulse can go to near unreadable levels, and there are methods of making one's pulse or heart stop without killing them for short instances of time. Well, even if any of things happen, you can't quiet the sound of the soul, and that's something my sense can pick up easily on prone bodies. Also, I can tell when someone like that is lying to me, so I didn't believe the hunter at all. Kakashi's eyebrow rose a bit at the new information. You can sense souls too? The sound of the soul I can feel, not the soul itself. But it's close enough, so I guess you can say I do sense them in a way. But as I said, I only really notice it on prone bodies. If the body is moving, then it's hard to detect this, what with all the other sound it would be causing. Ah, I see. Well, I figured the Zabuza was alive because the hunter who took him didn't destroy the body after he captured him. For hunters, it's simple convenience for them to destroy the bodies on sight and take only the head. It ensures death and is also safer for a number of reasons. It's something that you all should have been taught in the academy. Well, if that's the case, why didn't Sakura figure it out then? The pink-haired girl blinked at Naruto, suddenly directing the attention towards her. What? Why me? Well, Sakura, you were supposedly the only in our class who was the most book-smart. That is your only strong point right now, so as your only area of usefulness, you should at least pay attention to your surroundings and give us input, as your information could mean the difference between life and death. She shrunk back a little at being pointed out before her expression turned to anger. Who do you think you are? What makes you think some class loser like you can tell me what to do? Naruto blinked as others reeled at the loudness. What? But I wasn't telling you what to do. I was just wondering why you are no help to this team. Kakashi winced at that, and was about to say something as Sakura felt like she had been stabbed. Her face started to turn red with anger before she was hit with killing intent that blasted it away. Naruto's face shadowed as his eyes bore her down. Sasuke consciously distanced himself from them a bit, already used to this. But I can tell you what to do now, Haruno. You can work or die because that's your only choice. I will only pull your weight for so long, and Sasuke, as much as he hates me, if he ever has to choose between saving me or you, he would choose me instantly, and you know why. She was frozen in place as Naruto walked right up to her, and no one moved to stop him. He leaned into her ear and grinned darkly. Because I'm actually useful, whereas you're a fucking fangirl who is worth even less than her own vagina is worth to her object of interest, and would be better off as a paperweight for some rand dash. Naruto-kun. He stopped before he got too far as Kuromi called him from her spot on his shoulder. Yeah? he responded mentally. I know she's not much, but I just don't want you to say something you can't take back. Isn't she your ally? It was more just advice than her actually caring about the pink-haired human. Only because she's a Konoha shinobi. But yeah, you're right. He refocused his eyes on Sakura to see her pale and scared as she looked over from him to Sasuke for a second, only for him to look away. Naruto's aura changed instantly as he backed up and gave an eye smile. Gomen got a little excited. Anyway, Sakura-chan, just work hard and find something you're good at, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Naruto turned on his heel and headed over to the kitchen where their hostess was. Hey Tsunami-san, how about I help you with breakfast? The woman jumped a bit at the sudden change as the young shinobi made her a bit nervous before she cooled herself and gave a small smile with a nod. Thank you, Naruto-san, but I wouldn't want to trouble you. No trouble at all. I've learned a thing or two about cooking. Kakashi let out a sigh at the issues with his team. Sakura was still standing there, as if she had just survived a near-death experience. Well, at least he didn't physically beat her into submission like with Sasuke. All of Team 7 was now standing in one of the forests nearby Tazuna's home. Alright, it's time to start your guys' training. You're finally going to do your job now, Kakashi? Kakashi sighed as he held himself up on a crutch in front of his genin. Naruto, please. The innocent expression the boy wore outside of combat he was pretty sure was fake half the time too, as it made his words worse. I will be teaching you all how to better use your chakra better. But Kakashi-sensei, we know how to use chakra already. Naruto glanced at Sakura before shrugging. Probably some exercise. I can always use more control. Yes, Sakura, I know you all know how to use chakra. If you didn't, then you likely wouldn't be shinobi now, would you? No, what I'm planning to teach you is a must for all shinobi. It's called tree walking. A breeze went by and he was met with silences, his genin thinking different things. So I finally get to learn that? Naruto scratched his cheek in thought. I was wondering when that would come up. Huh! Was Sakura's intelligent response. Here, let me show you all. Kakashi limped over to a tree with his crutches. Ichi placed a foot on the tree and Sakura's eyes widened at seeing him walk straight up while still hobbling. Sasuke and Naruto, however, had their eyes twitch. Show off. To do this, you have to channel chakra to the part of your body making contact with the tree and have it in a steady stream. Too much and you blow off, too little and you fall. I want you all to do this until you can do it as easily as walking on land. Use a kunai to mark your progress. Sasuke moved to go first. He closed his eyes for a moment until he felt his chakra and ran towards the tree. He kept going until about a third of the way up, impressing Kakashi before marking it and jumping off. Well done, Sasuke. Damn, it's harder than I thought. He thought he would be able to breeze through such a simple exercise. This is actually kind of fun. The men blinked before looking to see Sakura already up high in the tree on a branch. Sasuke glared at her, causing her to flinch, while Kakashi's eyebrow rose. Great job, Sakura. Looks like your control over your chakra is excellent. Naruto was cupping his chin as he stared at the tree in thought before Kakashi snapped him out of it. Well, Naruto, you're the only one left. Naruto shrugged and picked Kuromi up off his shoulder and placed her down on the ground before walking. Let's try this. I have a huge amount of chakra, so let's test with a tiny bit. He spoke to himself before placing his heel against the tree. Shhhh. Sawdust started to fly in the air and his foot wasn't staying attached. What? He increased the output, and that's where it went to hell. His leg spazzed about before it went off to the side and he tumbled a little on the ground. Ha! While you say I'm useless but you can't even climb a tree? What a sorry excuse for a shinobi you are. Sakura obnoxiously screeched, only for Kakashi to reprimand her. Sakura, the tree exercise is one that takes both precise control as well as a very small amount of chakra. An amount that is so small that after a certain point seasoned shinobi don't even notice the drain. While you do indeed have great control, your reserves are hardly even more than twice that of a civilian your age. Naruto's reserves are unnaturally massive. You could say that he probably has at least 10 times the chakra I have, which is several hundred times more than what you have. I heard he apparently did pass the graduation with high scores despite his performance in the class. For a ninja his age to even be able to pull off the clone jutsu would be near an act of kami itself. Which means he puts in the work, so if anyone has a right to berate anyone, it's him, and not you. Both Sakura and Sasuke's eyes widened infinitely at that information. Kakashi lightened up right after, however. Well, I probably exaggerate a little, but you got the point. This exercise does not have the same level of difficulty for everyone, but it is something that should be learned. They felt a pressure from below, and Kakashi sweated slightly when they saw Naruto standing silently with his eyes shadowed. He walked back up to the tree and lifted his leg with a fair amount of chakra. "Naruto, what are you doing?" A sinister gleam showed through the shadows of his face for a second before his leg whisked through the air and struck the tree hard. While not enough force to do a whole lot, the interaction of his chakra with the wood was an interesting sight. A large chunk of the trunk at that level was knocked out in an explosion of wood fragments and sawdust. Sasuke ran out of the way while Sakura screamed out and lost her balance. Kakashi fell as well but landed on his feet out of the way of the falling tree. Sakura shut her eyes as she fell, only for her descent to stop. She opened her eyes to see Naruto holding her up by the back of her shirt. She shivered at the hard look before he wordlessly dropped her to the ground and started to walk off. Kakashi watched him go before looking back at the tree. He noted that while he hit it well, the boy had still hurt himself from that stunt. His chakra is so problematic naturally. If he doesn't work on his control at least as much as Tsunade did by her prime, it could do him more harm than good. "You're pretty hot-headed at times, aren't you?" Naruto sat against a tree with his eyes closed as he petted Kuromi on his lap. He hadn't even been gone maybe 10 minutes before Kakashi showed up. "Are you here to lecture me?" Now, don't be like that. Here." He tossed a slip of paper to Naruto. Naruto caught it between his fingers without reacting. There was a fizzing noise and Naruto opened his eyes to see the wisps of something in his hand before it vanished. "What was that?" Kakashi was very startled by what he saw. The moment Naruto touched the paper, it was like it went up a dematerialized dust. "That is remarkable. Naruto, during the fight with Zabuza you learned how to use a lightning affinity, right?" "Yeah, more like I figured out how to separate the lightning out of my chakra." "That's what I thought. Here, this time suppress your lightning nature as much as you can." He tossed another paper to Naruto, who did as he said and caught the paper confused. This time his eyes were open to catch what was happening. The paper rippled as if waves were going through it before it exploded into smaller pieces, and those pieces then burned up. "That was cool. I can't believe it. What I just gave you was chakra paper used to figure out a shinobi's affinities. We already know about lightning and I suspected wind as well. But from that show from the paper you definitely have a fire affinity, and I believe earth, but the way they interact with each other is in a way I've never seen before." "Cool, well I already knew about lightning and the wind aspect. But how does that help me right now?" "Well, I'd say you can become even more powerful in your bloodline if you both learn how to use it and learn to master the individual elements that compose it, thereby gaining better control as a whole. Then maybe you won't have to deal with the backlash of using your own chakra." He glanced down when he saw Naruto's leg twitch. "As for your tree walking, I don't know. Maybe you just shouldn't use chakra." Naruto narrowed his eyes at Kakashi as he walked off, or rather hobbled. After Kakashi was well and gone, there was a puff of smoke as Kuromi entered her fox girl appearance. She held his leg gently and closed her eyes as he read chakra envelop the limb. "Honestly, can you not be so reckless with this body? I still live in it after all. All along the lower leg there are small fractures. Well, if you'll be my nurse whenever I get hurt, then I'll stare any threat in the face without flinching. You kicked a tree out of spite and almost shattered your leg. The details aren't important." She sighed, and after a minute she set Naruto's leg down and walked to a tree, looking up at it. She scratched her head for a moment before shrugging. She closed her eyes and walked forward. She kept walking for a time. She stopped when she felt Naruto's eyes on her back. She opened her eyes and looked back to see Naruto looking up at her dumbfounded. "What? What?" She was standing on the trunk of the tree a good 15 meters up, looking down at him over her shoulder. "How did you?" She hemmed and looked down at her feet connected to the tree, only to lose her traction. She squeaked as she fell back down. Naruto quickly stood up and caught her, though he was a little ginger on his injured leg. "Well, that clears that up." She blushed at Naruto holding her like that before she stood on her own. "Well, I am at my base a mass of chakra with a consciousness that evolved over time, so I have a godly amount of chakra. And I know how to use my body, which is chakra, intuitively. So I figured even if I'm sealed in you, how much my chakra flows out if I'm shrunk down to this size would still come out pressured. So I decided to just go on instinct." Naruto's eyes widened as he thought back at what Kakashi said. "Maybe you just shouldn't use chakra." Was he giving me advice? I have a lot of chakra that's always flowing out, probably more than what people use for tree climbing, but because it's passively slipping out, it also clings to me for a time. So, wow, I didn't think you were one, but you actually are a genius, Kuromi-chan. Before she could stop him, he moved to kiss her on the cheek, causing a blush to spread over her nose. Mew, what do you mean you didn't think I was one? She swiped at him but hit air as he had already moved towards the tree. The fur on her animal appendages bristled as the air around him went dead, and his eyes zoned out with his arms back at his sides slightly behind him. In seconds he made it the same distance as Kuromi had up the tree. He blinked and refocused. Well, that worked out great dash. He slipped and fell to the ground but managed to catch himself on the ground. The moment I think about the action of tree climbing is the moment I lose balance, huh? Oh yeah, I wasn't thinking either. Naruto looked at her dryly. I take back my genius comment. He ducked out of the way hastily as Kuromi's knee landed where his head had been hitting the tree behind him and shattering the bark. I was joking. Wow, you guys sure are hungry. Tsunami smiled softly. Kakashi ate normally, somehow. Sasuke ate fast, and even Sakura ate at a faster rate to try and regain their strength and fill their empty bellies from their training. Kakashi sat back and thought out loud. I wonder where Naruto is. Tazuna took a swig of his alcohol from his chair and glanced over at Kakashi. Was he not with you guys as well out there training? He was, but shortly after being shown what we were doing I think he got a bit irritated then walked off. I bet he's somewhere goofing off after having given up on tree climbing. It matches a class slacker like him. Sakura huffed as she finished eating. Oh really? A chill went up her spine at the voice behind her as a hand gripped the back of her chair hard. Naruto's slit eyes stared from the side at her. Oh Naruto, you're back. Naruto flawlessly switched back into his light-hearted demeanor. Hey Kakashi-sensei. Thanks for the advice with my training, it helped a lot. What advice? You know when you said to not use. The words died in his throat as he thought about it again, and his face shadowed as he glared at Kakashi. The jounin sweated as he held up his hands. Ma, calm down now Naruto, it was just to egg your determination. He wanted to punch Kakashi but decided not to for now. I don't even know why you all bother, you're gonna all die anyway. The group looked over at Inari, Tsunami's son. Naruto chuckled, waving it off. Hey, you worry too much, kid. Besides, we are all going to die eventually anyway, so no point worrying about when it's going to happen. Go on and die then. Gato has an army, there is no way you can stop him. And I'm the ultimate weapon, or deterrent depending on the situation. An army really doesn't mean a whole lot to me. That's very egotistical. Naruto could practically hear the thoughts of his teammates, but chose not to look at them. Naruto's lax demeanor only served to infuriate Inari more, however. Is this some kind of game to you? You probably had such a spoiled life to be able to think like that you don't know what it's like to suffer. Oh, I don't? Tsunami was about to step in and reprimand her son for his rudeness, only for everyone to stop as Naruto gained an edge in his voice. Though his carefree body language stayed the same, you could see the hardness in his eyes. Naruto walked over to a picture on the wall and stood in front of it. It was a picture of the house's family, but with one person torn out of it. Naruto stood there for a long pause, not saying anything, until finally he looked back at Inari with a small smile. You lost someone important to you, didn't you? Maybe even a father. The family, especially Inari, all flinched visibly. Naruto saw it and kept his soft smile. You're a good kid, Inari. You've been through a lot, and you don't want others to risk their lives and go through the same pain you did. That's why you don't want us here. You feel that what we are doing is a waste, so you would rather us not die needlessly to protect you. Inari balled up his fists and looked down as he tried to hold back her tears. Tazuna and Tsunami didn't look much better off. However, the room went dry and dark as they went rigid. With his back to Inari, he continued to speak. I grew up on the streets and had to fight to live and fight to eat ever since I was probably half your age or less. I've had to grow up with the world weighing me down with a knife to my spine. I'm not going to give you some long spiel as to how or why I lived the way that I had, but you said I know nothing about suffering. His jacket hit the ground and he took off his undershirt. Most of the occupants in the room gasped as they saw his back and torso bare. Do you still think you've suffered more? Tsunami covered her mouth as she cried and Tazuna felt ill. Even Sasuke and Kakashi were surprised. The others didn't know what to feel. Along Naruto's upper body were thin scars where it looked like he had been slashed or cut into. The marks weren't patchy or anything as they were smooth and faded. But with attention now brought to them, it made them very noticeable. Naruto made his way to the door as he left the house. Sorry Tsunami-chan, I'd stay for dinner, but I'm afraid I eat a bit much when I train, so I'll find something to hunt. As he stood at the door, Kakashi called out to him. Wait, Naruto! How is your training coming along now? I can give you some tips if you want. Naruto glanced back with a bored look that surprised them and gave them a small amused smirk. Hey, I don't need your pity. I mastered that already. He left the house after that without saying another word. The house sat in an uncomfortable silence, some no longer having an appetite to eat. Tazuna set down his drink looking sober as he spoke in a tired sigh. Kakashi-san, I don't know how things work in your village, but what could the boy have possibly done to deserve such treatment? Naruto has always been an orphan, and because of that, along with certain events around him, he served as an easy scapegoat for people. Let's just say in a world so dark it's hard for me to see the truth. Naruto walked through the woods in silence. In a poof of smoke, Kuromi appeared in her fox form walking alongside him and looked at him nervously. They walked for a good 10 minutes without a word being spoken. Finally, Kuromi had to break the silence. I'm sorry. It's not enough, I know, but dash. What are you doing? He kept walking but still glanced over at her. She knew exactly how and why he got those scars, so she knew why she was apologizing. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be tortured. Stop. You had to go through hell just to survive. Stop. You try to look happy all the time, but you have a lot of pent-up dark emotions. She turned into her Yukai form as she looked down and held her arm, walking behind him. What? Stop. Yet you still want to free me, which you don't have to do. I should at least go through the pain you felt. But it still wouldn't be a suitable payment for what I've done, dash. I said fucking stop. He turned on her and yelled at her, causing her to flinch. He roughly grabbed her arm and pulled her in. Expecting to be hit, she was caught off guard again as Naruto's lips collided with her own. He hungrily kissed her as she tried to regain her bearings. His other hand made it down to the small of her back and pulled her in. She moaned into him as she tried to speak. She put her hand to his chest, trying to push him back. WYRUMMPH? Naruto silenced her again, and they fell to the ground as he pinned her. His tongue stroked against her own and the moist cavern holding said appendage. Her hands balled into fists as she shut her eyes and squirmed under him. Her eyes watered, and after a couple minutes Naruto finally backed off, letting her breathe normally. I feel so much better now. I told you already I'd rather you not apologize for what has already happened. She was about to cry from embarrassment as she covered her red face with her hands. What's wrong with you? Please put your shirt back on. His body had scars, but it was also toned to the touch. He shook his head and laughed to himself. That's cute. I'm starting to question how people ever found you scary. She stopped shaking and moved one hand down as a slitted red eye stared at him darkly. He sweated lightly and went on with his training. Yeah, I was joking. He walked away from her and pushed his headband down over his eyes. Okay, let's do this again. He vanished from his spot and landed on the trunk of a tree several meters up to the side. He jumped off in a blur and started to bounce back and forth between trees with his sight blocked. Kuromi sat up and smiled softly, watching him go. They could see well in the dark, but it was like a sense such as sight no hardly mattered to Naruto, so nighttime training didn't slow him down at all. He started ricocheting faster and faster between trees. It was at the moment that Naruto decided to use his chakra actively that her eyes widened at what she saw and she had to shield herself. A young woman made her way through the woods alone. Looking for something in particular, she stopped when she saw a boy in the center of a clearing under a tree. He appeared to be sleeping soundly as his headband rested over his eyes. His upper body was no longer bare, but he was still decorated with dirt and scratches. The splintered wood around him and shattered trees showed that he had likely been the cause of it. The girl was strikingly beautiful with long dark hair and dark eyes and was wearing a pink kimono. Approaching the boy, she gasped when she saw his face. She crouched down and slowly, as if lost in thought, started to creep her hand towards his neck. I wouldn't get any closer if I were you. She froze when Naruto spoke out. How did he detect me? She decided to appear disarming as Naruto sat up and took off his headband from his eyes. Yawning, he squinted as his eyes refocused to the morning light. Resting his eyes on the girl, he whistled, lighting. Wow, just woke up and already greeted with the sight of a pretty girl. Today must be a good day. She gave a small smile at the compliment but internally stayed on guard. She somehow could still feel eyes piercing into her. Naruto looked up and spoke at the tree. "Calm down, Kuromi-chan, it's fine." The girl looked confused and looked up, and her eyes widened in a nervous fear, seeing a panther-sized orange fox crouched on a branch above them, growling at her as if ready to pin her down and rip her apart at any moment. She jumped down, landing next to Naruto, and locked eyes with the girl before ignoring her with a huff. Naruto petted her head as he laughed. "Ha ha, sorry, she's a bit of the jealous type. But I didn't introduce myself. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, pleasure to meet you." She nodded to him with a friendly smile. "Nice to meet you. My name is Haku." "Haku? That's a nice name. So tell me, what is a beauty like yourself doing out in the woods so early in the morning alone?" She blushed slightly before answering. "Well, I'm actually just collecting herbs around the area for a friend of mine." "Herbs?" "Yes, you see, a friend of mine's was injured, so I'm helping him recover. Luckily, he wasn't hurt as badly as he could have been." "What are you doing out here, if you don't mind me asking?" "Well, you probably figured out already that I'm a shinobi. I was training out here and decided to rest when I was done." "Oh, I see. So is there a reason why you're training? After all, looking at the damage around us, I would say you are strong enough." "Nah, I've set the bar high for myself. I will be the ultimate weapon, so of course I will be strong. It doesn't matter how strong or skilled I am, that still is a long path to walk." "So you have a goal, but is there any other reason? Do you not have anyone precious to you?" "I think for one to truly be strong, they should fight for the one that is most precious to them." "Well, I don't think that is the only way to get strong." Looked over at Kuromi and smiled to himself. "But I would say I do have at least one person important to me." "Well, anyone?" He stood and dusted himself off. "Well, nice talking to you, Haku-chan. Tell Zabuza that waiting." This put her on edge as she fingered the small needles. He started walking out of the clearly, as it took a bit Haku to get what was said. Chapter 6, Wave Mission Part 2. Previously. "So you have a goal, but is there any other reason? Do you not have anyone precious to you? I think for one to truly be strong, they should fight for the one that is most precious to them." "Well, I don't think that is the only way to get strong." Looked over at Kuromi and smiled to himself. "But I would say I do have at least one person important to me." "Well, anyone?" He stood and dusted himself off. "Well, nice talking to you, Haku-chan. Tell Zabuza that waiting." This put her on edge as she fingered the small needles. He started walking out of the clearly, as it took a bit Haku to get what was said. Naruto whistled through the forests as he walked away. It didn't take him longer than a minute before he spoke out. "Stop!" A sharp needle stopped against his neck, which was held by Haku behind him. But he wasn't talking to her. He was talking to Kuromi, who, while still in her larger fox form, had her jaws open behind Haku's neck, causing the girl to shiver nervously. Naruto turned around, not at all bothered by the needle, and looked at her bored. "Not very smart to attack me. I'm pretty sure I did nothing wrong. You know of my connection to Zabuza and that he is still alive. So you pose a threat that I must eliminate for my master." Naruto motioned with his hand, and Kuromi backed off from Haku and trotted to his side, but kept an eye on the girl. "My entire team knows Zabuza is still alive, and that you are likely his ally. Though I'm the only one who knows your actual identity, but that's because of my senses. I'm letting you go to give Zabuza a heads up to be ready, but also because I prefer to give women a chance." She slowly lowered her weapon but kept a trained eye on him and the fox. "Don't assume my gender, I'm male dash. Come on now, that shit again?" He sighed and glanced over at Kuromi, who looked away for a second before he focused back on Haku. "I'm sure there are all kinds of reasons to lie about your gender, but I can't be tricked. You smell like a woman, though that's not always a 100% proof to go by. But I also have a sense where I can feel every curve of your body, and I can tell you're female." She blushed and tried to cover herself with her arms. "I didn't do anything perverted." She decided that for simplicity it would be best to believe him. "Fine, I will trust you and tell Zabuza that you are expecting him. So next time, I'm sorry to say, we will meet as enemies." She formed a hand seal and vanished in a swirl of mist. Naruto spun on his heel and walked away from the clearing with Kuromi. "Just because I didn't kill you, don't think that means we weren't already enemies. I tell you, boy, your help means the world to me," Tazuna said to Naruto as the boy carried beams of wood across the bridge. Tazuna was short on workers, and so the bridge building was taking longer than usual. Naruto volunteered to help, which Tazuna initially refused, saying that Naruto and his team was already doing enough for them. So Naruto pretty much forced his way into helping. The boy was strong enough to lift wooden beams that would take 2 to 4 grown men some work to lift, and he did it tirelessly. When Tazuna asked him why Naruto was doing this for him, the boy simply responded, "Sometimes you have to show people you're strong, especially when they think you aren't. Because when you show you're strong, you don't get pushed around." That response wasn't his answer, but him giving advice to Tazuna for Gato. Naruto's words and actions served to inspire the remaining workers to stay, and some over the week's time to even come back. To the wave civilians' amazement, Naruto even used shadow clones to speed up the production. He only made around 10, but with Naruto's stamina and strength, all the workers had to do was the carpenting and the aesthetics, which made the job way easier for them and faster. Tazuna didn't want to take the young shinobi away from his training, but stopped complaining when Naruto said all the work he was doing was working his muscles, so it helped him anyway. Or at least that's what he said. Really, it was just to keep Naruto's hands busy. The entire time he was also controlling his chakra discreetly. The seal is degrading nervously fast. Naruto rubbed his chin as he looked at the seal on Kuromi's cage in his mindscape. Is that bad? Kuromi wondered as she laid down in the grass away from him. For you it's not at the way it is now, you can probably use half your chakra. That's scarily fast. My chakra's natural properties is breaking down the seal. While you will be free like I promised, the seal might be decreasing faster than my body can adjust to. Sorry that it's causing you trouble. Don't worry about it, I'll figure something out, but you are getting out of here soon regardless, don't worry. She turned over to look at his back and smiled softly. You'd better keep your promise. But I'd rather you not kill yourself in the process of fulfilling said promise. Say Kuromi? Her ear perked up at him in attention. How are the other Biju's relationships with their containers? I'm not completely sure since I've been sealed for a lot of the time since Jinchuriki were known. From what I've gathered since waking up, and you other Biju for the most part have either an indifferent or angered relationship with their containers. There are a few that are more friendly with their containers. The Hachibi and its host being a prime example. Why? Just wondering what I should expect is all. I would imagine not other Jinchuriki have the relationship we have. Our situation is definitely not a common one. Though I would be careful if you do happen to meet another container. Why is that? Well, simply because you are my host, you are automatically placed at the peak of the hierarchy. You outrank other Jinchuriki, which is to be expected since your mind dash. Naruto snorted, causing Kuromi to blush as she corrected herself. My container. But that might also cause a few of the other Biju to be at odds with you. There is also the likely chance that other Jinchuriki can use their Biju's power to some degree. Well, that's good to know. Still, it would be cool to meet others like me. Naruto then went into silence as he continued to inspect the seal in her presence. She sat up and watched him for a few minutes. It would be hard for her to saw it, but she really did enjoy being around him. In only a month and a half's time, her life had turned around completely, and she for once had someone outside her siblings that she could say she had some kind of bond with. The feelings she felt, though she wasn't sure what all they were, or rather didn't want to acknowledge the state of them. She fidgeted a little before letting out a breath and biting her lip. Nara container. Naruto turned to look at her, curious at being called. Yeah, Kuromi-chan? There he goes with the familiar addressing with her. Yet she allowed it for some reason. Well, if you want, you can use my power. You know when you are in trouble. It would be inconvenient for me if you were to die too soon after all. Nah, I'm alright. What? She went blank for a second before getting a little irritated. Do you know what an honor it is for me to allow you to dash? I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, Kuromi-chan. I just never planned on using anyone's power other than my own. I grew up with my own power. I survived through my own power. The only time I would say I used your power was when the seal kept me from dying as a child. At least I think it was the seal. Her mood instantly dropped, as was the trend whenever he mentioned the harshness of his childhood. He saw her ears droop and smiled as he turned to her. If you want to fight with me, though, I guess I can use your power, with the exception that you use me as well. Is that okay? She smirked and tilted her head up away from him. Humph, as if I would ever need anything from you. But okay, I accept those conditions. Naruto chuckled at her act. Cute as always. He leaned in and gave her a quick kiss on the cheek before she could react, and left the mindscape vanishing as she blushed shyly. As she sat there in the grass by there, her hand subconsciously went to the thick chain around her neck. I am not cute, I'm an intimidating force of nature, Baka. She mumbled to herself. No, you're not. She jumped when Naruto's voice echoed through the mindscape, showing that while he left he was still connected to it. "Will you go away?" she growled as she could hear the fading of Naruto's chuckling in the sky. Naruto woke up in his bed and stretched. He had a few bandages on his arms and scattered lightly over the rest of his body from the damage his training had caused. Wasn't that big of a deal to him, though. His ear twitched when he heard the sound of metal cutting through it, accompanied by a womanly scream and dishes breaking. Naruto felt into his sensory skill and was able to feel the presence of intrudes in the house, along with the fact that his team was not in the house. Guess they left guard duty to me. Well, at least they let me sleep. He sat up and pulled the bandages from his body, as he had healed up overnight on his own. He grinned excitedly as his hair flared out slightly from his intent. Show time! They were two men who could be assumed to be bandits holding swords. The shorter of the two had a malicious smirk on his face as they dragged Tsunami out. "Yeah, it sucks being the bridge builder's daughter, but you're coming with us now. Ka-chan!" Tsunami's eyes widened in fear as Inari came out, gaining the sword wielder's attentions. "Oh, look, the brat came out for his mommy, ha ha ha. Leave my mother alone." The taller of the bandits grinned as he approached Inari, unsheathing his sword. "Oh, so the snot-nosed kid thinks he can order us around, does he? Don't touch him. I'll do whatever you want, just please don't harm my child." They looked back and saw the defiance in Tsunami's eyes and laughed as they left the boy. "We are definitely going to hold you to that when we get you to Gato." They took her away as Inari watched, crying. His legs shook, but he was unable to move. The images of his father and Naruto flashed in his head. He didn't want to lose anyone else. He didn't want to always suffer. There were others who suffered more than him but kept going. He may be weak, but he can make himself stronger. And it was with that thought that Inari grabbed a kitchen knife and ran at them, screaming, "Let go of her! Inari, stop!" The young mother's eyes were wide in horror as the swordsman turned on Inari, and she could do nothing about it. Looks like the kid decided he didn't want to live anymore. The big one swung his sword down at Inari as the boy stabbed at him. The blade cuzzed through the air fast to hit Inari before the kitchen knife could even touch him. There was a gust of wind and took a few seconds for the people there to realize what happened as a voice spoke out. "Not bad, Inari. Though if you are fighting someone, I wouldn't scream out like that unless you can move faster than sound. You're one to talk. Very funny, Kuromi." He mentally spoke out to his fox dryly. Everyone looked on shock as Naruto was standing there between them, holding Inari's wrist with one hand and catching the bandit's sword between his curled index and middle finger of his other hand. "Who are you?" Naruto looked at the shorter man holding Tsunami boredly. "A badass. Who are you?" "I'm all." A kitchen knife was suddenly stabbing the man through the shoulder, causing him to release her. "Unimportant." Inari looked down at his hand, seeing the knife gone. The taller bandit looked at him with some fear now. "What did you do?" "No one yet. Maybe a hot fox girl at some point. After that, who knows?" Naruto nodded his head to himself and looked off into space. His seal burned for a second, but he ignored it. "What?" The man was confused as hell now. "You know you should really get a better sword." "Huh? What's wrong with the one I'm using?" A shock went through Naruto's arm and he twisted his wrist, shattering the sword into fragments away from him. "It's shit." The metal shards stabbed into the man's chest and face, and he fell back, bleeding out. The shorter man started to scramble back for his life as he held his impaled shoulder. Naruto moved to Tsunami and untied her. The moment she was free, she clung on to his shirt, hugging him as she frantically spouted out a series of thank yous. Naruto just rubbed her back as he looked down at her son. "Good job, Inari. It is because of you stalling them that your mother is still here. Who knows what would have happened if they got away. Speaking of which..." Naruto looked where the other bandit was running. He blurred out of sight, and before he knew it, the man was being held up with one hand around his throat as he wet himself. Naruto got an insane gleam in his eye as he leered at the man. "Now you are going to answer some questions for me." This was the wrong time to let Naruto rest. Kakashi regretted as he held Zabuza's sword off with a kunai. When they got to the bridge, Zabuza and his accomplice attacked them. "It's a shame, really. I wanted to fight that kid again. That other black-haired brat seems to have gotten stronger since he was able to take care of my water clones so easily, but he is still no match for Haku. And let's face it, the pink girl is useless." Zabuza cackled as he swung his sword at Kakashi again. Zabuza was no joke as he wasn't playing around like before. Zabuza had planned this out as well. His mist wasn't just used for silent killing but also to reduce the visibility of Kakashi's Sharingan, making this much hard. Sasuke's own kunai met a Saban as he fended off the hunter. You should really give up. Since you are Naruto-kun's friend, I wouldn't want to kill you. Sasuke's eyes widened in confusion for a second before it went away. You know Naruto? Wait, it doesn't matter, I'm not his friend, and you should be the one giving up. You won't win. I see. Well, no hard feelings then. Haku brought up one hand, shocking Sasuke as she made hand seals. You can make a jutsu that way? Haku ended on a seal and 1,000 needles materialized from the water in the air. All the needles rained down on Sasuke. He smirked, and a second later he vanished from the spot the needles stabbed down on to appear in the air. Sasuke threw several kunai, forcing Haku to jump back. Haku suddenly leaned to the side and a kunai went by from behind her. She looked back to see Sakura smirking at her. She realized too late that it was meant to distract and not hit, as a moment later Sasuke impacted his knee on the face of her mask. The blow sent her tumbling back. Looks like my chakra is working well. Zabuza's eyes widened as Haku was actually forced back, causing Kakashi to chuckle. Seems you underestimated my genin. Kids tend to love to prove the adults wrong. Sasuke is one of our village's most promising young fights, and he's an Uchiha. Sakura, while not much right now, is incredibly book smart and a natural tactician. So her offensive power is weak, but she still knows how to be an excellent diversion. An Uchiha? I thought they were wiped out. Sasuke is the last one we have left. Not only an Uzumaki but now an Uchiha? Haku, don't play around anymore. Yes, Zabuza. Haku stood up unharmed and made a lone hand seal. She unleashed her chakra as the air around her noticeably chilled. Sasuke looked on anxiously as the air frosted. What is this? Sasuke was surrounded by floating mirrors made of ice. To their amazement, Haku made contact with one of the mirrors and sunk into it. He shivered as he could see his breath from how low the air temperature dropped. This is my bloodline. You think you're fast? I'll show you speed. The moment Haku finished her part, Sasuke flinched as a cut appeared on his cheek. What was that? I said it was speed. This jutsu lets me move at near the speed of light. The voice echoed around him before he felt pain from all sides as he was cut up. Sasuke! Kakashi shouted and ran to help him, only to be blocked off by Zabuza. Not so fast, Kakashi. Go for Haku and I take out the bridge builder and that pink chihuahua of a student you have. Kakashi glared but forced himself to leave Sasuke and hope he could handle himself as he dealt with Zabuza. After a few minutes, Kakashi was not able to push the advantage. He was out of shape and practice from what he used to be. He knew that now, and that could cost him, especially since Zabuza hadn't been as injured by their first battle as he had been. Zabuza planned against his Sharingan, and it worked well, and yet Kakashi had neither a plan nor the reserves to counter him. Zabuza laughed out at Kakashi as he started to sweat. Ho ho ho, that boy is probably down on his luck by now, Kakashi, and pretty soon you will be next. It's a shame, really. I was hoping for that other kid to be here, but I'll find him after I drop your body in this sea. Someone call me? Both veteran shinobi's eyes widened at the shout. Sasuke's knees were weak as he was bleeding quite a bit. None of his wounds were that deep, but the pain and blood loss would get to him soon, and the lower temperature was already draining his stamina. He was able to see the blurring paths of Haku's movements, but not much else, and so was not able to really stop her. You have good eyes if you are even able to notice me, but I'm afraid I'll have to end this here. Don't stop yet, the main act has just arrived. Haku looked up from her place in the mirror at the voice, surprised. They heard the pelting of footsteps, and a second later Haku cried out as she was knocked out of her mirror as a knee strike from behind shattered it in a burst of static. Who? Everyone's eyes widened, even Sakura and Tezuna's, as Naruto dropped down into the dome of mirrors as broken ice fell down around him sparkling, and he posed with a finger to the sky. The ultimate weapon is here. Kuromi giggled in his head. You love theatrics. Naruto relaxed his posture and looked over at Sasuke, who was almost on the ground. Wow, you look like shit. Sasuke glared as he momentarily forgot his injuries. Now isn't the time, idiot. This ninja has some strange bloodline that lets her use ice and merge with it, moving at high speeds. Naruto shrugged boredly. You are saying it like it's that big of a deal, and I haven't already figured most of that out, since most of that is currently present right now. I'm assuming if you are crying about it, then your fire jutsu isn't working on the ice? It hardly does anything, and the damage it does do she quickly repairs it. Naruto looked over at the mirror he broke only to see it suddenly reform itself. He glanced to the side as Haku got up quickly and flipped back into a mirror. Hey Haku-chan, we meet again. Naruto-kun, it's nice to see you. I don't suppose I can convince you to not fight. If you guys back off we won't kill you. Sorry, but we have a job. Even if Gato is a terrible person, we must complete our task unless Zabuza-sama decides otherwise. That being said, I don't think you are in a case to kill anyone. Whoosh! Naruto's eye fluttered for a second as a cut appeared on his cheek. He stared at Haku another second before rubbing his cheek with his thumb, showing the cut gone. What was that, Sasuke? It's another part of her jutsu. She said it lets her move at light speed? Light speed, huh? Well then, Sasuke, you're at my back. Sasuke stood up and had his back to Naruto's. Now form a fire jutsu, I have a plan. Sasuke sucked his teeth but listened as he formed hand seals. The moment he did, there were blurs all around him as Haku grabbed his hand. Sasuke's eyes dilated as Haku pulled back a hand full of ice saban. She felt killing intent and saw Naruto move over Sasuke with his legs swinging and a blank look in his eyes. She slid back and flipped away as Naruto's foot hit the ground in front of Sasuke where Haku was cutting into it with a low boom. She panted as a second later her mask fell away, split down the middle. Naruto ran a hand through his hair and laughed out loud. I said I had a plan where you could hear it. Did you think I was stupid? I knew you would likely try to stop Sasuke from doing what I said somehow, as that was the only clear information you had to act on. Now then. Naruto moved to Sasuke and pulled a few senbon out of his back, making Sasuke yelp out. You said she could move at light speed? Well, it's good news to know that isn't true, or we would both be screwed. You could see her, couldn't you? I could see all of it this time. Naruto rose an eyebrow and whistled when he saw his eyes. Well, looks like the last Uchiha got his eyes. Sasuke's eyes widened upon hearing that as he grew excited. And my Sharingan. I'm a true Uchiha now. I can't be stopped. Naruto blinked as Sasuke fell to the ground unconscious. Well, that's just disappointing. Guess he suffered shock from the cold and the sudden surprise drain from activating his Sharingan. Well, it's just you and me now, Haku. Haku's sweat dropped when Naruto carelessly kicked Sasuke's prone form out of the dome. Haku ignored it and held up a fist full of senbons. Please reconsider, I would dislike killing you. You're underestimating me if you think I can. Haku sighed and narrowed her eyes at his response. So be it. A body moving at extreme speed zipped past Naruto, and a series of cuts appeared on his forearm. Naruto didn't even budge. She went in and out of a mirror before doing the same thing and repeated as she became a series of streaks around Naruto. Cuts and slashes appeared over Naruto and his clothes as he stood there unflinching. Tell me, Haku. What? His lack of concern and reaction to her attacks unnerved her. Why do you follow Zabuza so much? You are your own person, so you shouldn't throw your life away that easily. Zabuza saved me from my own loneliness and a lonely death. Lonely? Naruto's eyes shifted around as Haku dashed around him. Yes, you see, in the lands of water around the Mist Village there has been a purging of those with bloodlines led by the Mizukage. Anyone with bloodlines were seen as demons who didn't have a right to live. Naruto flinched at that. Haku noticed but continued. One day shortly after awakening my bloodline, my father saw me practicing with it. He gathered a mob and set out to kill me and my mother. While he did kill my mother, I managed to kill them all and escape. As I ran from town to town alone looking for scraps, as the civil war of the country had rendered local towns to poverty, I was found by Zabuza. He took me in, trained me, and gave me purpose. Even if it's simply to be his weapon, I will fulfill my duty and debt to him. Haku, you don't know how much I can relate to you. Haku stopped in her assault as she stood half out of one mirror listening to him. But your life is your own. I understand you feeling you owe Zabuza, but at this point don't throw your life away. If you have no reason to live without Zabuza, then find another reason. You said one becomes strong when they have someone to protect? Well, someone who is trying to protect someone and doesn't have any goals is just wasting their time. Sorry, Naruto-lun, but I can't stop. I'm not doing this just because I am fulfilling my obligation to Zabuza. I am doing this because I want to help him. Naruto smiled at her. Guess I was wrong. But if you hope to kill me, you're gonna need something bigger than needles. That wouldn't be hard to do. The ice needles in her hand drew in moisture and stretched into small swords. She dashed straight at aimed for his head. I wished we could have become friends. Please don't hate me in the next life. Play NECA Heartbeat, Chase and Status Remix. Naruto gave a somber smile as Haku dashed around him progressively closer. I definitely know what it's like to be alone, and I can definitely see us being close. Zabuza is your reason for being strong? Well then you said that it is only when you have someone precious to you to protect that you can be strong. Well then Haku, what if someone who is already strong finds someone precious to them? The one precious to me either you nor Zabuza can compare to. Haku zipped behind Naruto with her ice blades held to run through his back. She felt a dark glare on her, and she froze as a chill went along her back as she backed off quickly. She panted slightly as she looked at Naruto warily. This feeling of unease. She tried her luck again and dashed at Naruto from the side. The moment she got close again, the dark presence actually warped her vision as she saw Naruto. His eye gleamed as his face was shadowed and locked with her own the moment she got close as a glowing slitted eye bore into her. She felt like an ant approaching a titan for a split second. He can follow me at this speed? You have incredible tracking if you are still able to follow me at this speed. Yeah, I have great eyes, but I rely on a sixth sense I have that lets me feel movement around me. You said you move at the speed of light? You are hardly moving at a fraction of the speed of sound, you just have great stealth. He mentally gained a nervous smile, however, as he thought. Not gonna lie though, the instant she leaves one of the mirrors her speed is much faster than I can track, but she slows down greatly after. She is probably limited by how fast she can react when she is traveling at that speed and so slows down. So you're a sensors as well? He shrugged. I guess so. Well, it won't matter if you can sense me if you can't move fast enough to stop me. She jumped back and forth, speeding up, causing Naruto to smirk. It's thanks to those mirrors that you are indeed faster than me. She shot straight forward at Naruto this time with her ice blade wielding hand pointed out at his head. I'm sorry that I have to end it like this. You are faster, but I'm pretty fast myself, and with my abilities and chakra, then even if it's for a moment. Crash! She ran into Naruto, and an instant later her weapons were shattered and she flew back. Then I can counter even someone moving at your speed. The impact caused a shockwave to ring out that cracked the ice around them, and Haku was sent flying through her own ice mirror, shattering it as she tumbled across the bridge. He struck me too, number 3 times in that exchange, yet I didn't even see them. Kakashi whistled as Zabuza, who was stuck in an exchange with him, was shocked. Naruto chuckled through the mist as he walked towards Haku's lying body. The mirrors behind them started to fall apart. I have to say your Kekei Genkei is a thing of beauty, but with my bloodline, even if it didn't outrank yours, it also has the type advantage over you. So you are gifted as well. Your bloodline is one I've never heard of before. She shakily got up on her feet as blood dripped from her mouth. As far as I know, I'm the only one with this specific bloodline. I used to think it was sound or shockwaves, but upon studying it I found out what the root of my bloodline was, and through chakra control I've made it better. It is simply the control of the movement of molecules and atoms. Vibrations, if you will. The flow of my chakra is erratic, like the excited palpitations of an irregular heartbeat. He held his hands out as he moved towards Haku. His hands went out, and the air started to distort around them rhythmically as a dull beat went out. It excites my body like a heavy pulse. He dashed at Haku without warning, surprising those watching at his top speed. Naruto was very fast for his age, but for someone like Haku who was used to high speed, she was able to react. She jumped back and threw a handful of saman at Naruto in waves. Without slowing down, he left short afterimages as he dodged the 3 waves of needles by inches. She gasped as Naruto was already on her. You are good, but you don't have the physical power to stop me. Shindoten, tie-in, pulsation release, base. Naruto's palm gained a white translucent glow as it struck the mirror, but Haku was ready as she put more chakra into this specific mirror than the other ones. Shatter. Naruto's palm shattered it all the same, and the shockwave traveled with pinpoint force as it hit her in her core, and she vomited a little blood and was sent tumbling. Naruto continued to walk towards her calmly as she struggled to get up. That was a great defensive use of your jutsu, but you don't have enough chakra to block me. Haku, we are on par in almost every category. The difference is I'm physically stronger, but that's not as important. My stamina, chakra levels far outmatch yours, and with the type advantage of my bloodline you will lose this, so just give up. She gave a smile that unnerved Naruto a little as she started making hand seals. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. You are strong and I may very well die here, but I won't give up either. If you don't kill me, I'll end up only killing you. A chain broke out of the ground and went around her neck, choking her, as she gagged, forcing her to drop her hand seals. The rest of the chain tore out of the ground, showing that it was a chakra chain coming out of Naruto's lower back. The chain pulled Haku towards Naruto within range. His eyes deadened as he looked right at her. "I'm sorry." Naruto, without another thought, put his palm to Haku's cheek and a pulse went through her body as she let out a silent scream before a torrent of blood sprayed out of her mouth. The light slowly left her eyes as they closed. "Was I at least of use to you, Zabuza? Did my life mean anything?" She only spoke the last part, but Naruto understood it all. As she died, he held her body and slowly laid her down on the ground. He could have killed her in more gruesome and less quick ways, but out of respect for her he chose this method. It was a risk in the fact it was solely close range, but it exploded the enemy's heart and collapsed their lungs by forcing a suddenly strong pulse through the body, blowing up the veins and arteries in the chest as the air expanded outwards. "Thank you for the great fight. Yet I still can't help but feel you were holding back against me even a little." "Naruto, move!" Naruto looked up away from Haku at the sound of Kakashi's frantic cry. He glanced behind him as he felt insane killing intent to see Zabuza spinning his giant sword above him with a demonic aura about him. It was thanks to Naruto's own instincts coupled with his sensory skills that he was able to sense Zabuza's actions. Naruto turned around as Zabuza brought the momentum of the blade down diagonally at Naruto. Naruto instinctive attacked, moving his arms at the same frenzied speed as when they met Haku. A clash issued for a second before a result was made. Blood flew as a cut opened up on Naruto from his shoulder to his hip. His arms moved fast enough to break the sword's blade up on contact with the impact of his chakra strikes. It didn't stop him from getting sliced though. Naruto winced as some of the metal shards from the blade had broken off in his body, making it harder for his wound to heal. "Haku did her job, but you will pay for what you did." Naruto jumped back as Kakashi came to his aid and smirked with a slight grimace as he held his wound. "So you did care for Haku? It makes me feel better knowing she didn't completely waste her life." "Come on, Kakashi, I was expecting you to take care of him." Kakashi had the decency to look embarrassed as Naruto stood up straight on his own. "Sorry, Naruto. He fights too well in this mist, so he got away from me." "How are you doing though? Both with your kill and injury?" Naruto scoffed morbidly at the question. "With the kind of childhood I've had, if that was my first kill I would either have to be dead or retarded. As for the injury, well, I've had worse." Naruto looked eyes with Zabuza, seeing the man was angry at him, which wasn't surprising. Naruto only smiled at that, which angered the man more. "You have my respect, Zabuza, but you are on your last legs. Kakashi may not have been able to finish you off, but you weren't going to last much longer, were you? It doesn't matter what state my body is in. To go out fighting fits someone like me. I can understand, but it's a shame, really. The way you are now, I bet even a genin with some skill can beat you." Naruto sweated lightly as that caused Zabuza's intent to spike and the demonic aura behind him to take shape. "Naruto, what are you doing?" Naruto raised up a hand to stop Kakashi as Zabuza held his sword out at Naruto. At a quick speed where he vanished, Zabuza made his way towards Naruto. Naruto, however, made a simple ram sign with one hand as he calmed his breathing. A split second later, Naruto recoiled as Zabuza appeared before him and struck him with his sword. It hit Naruto's neck with a clang. The blade hit the chain around Naruto's neck, protecting him, though he still felt the impact as Naruto couldn't breathe. He wheezed but didn't fall as he brought back up his hand sign. "You are like a raging bull right now. If I threw myself in harm's way, you come running." Naruto's chakra became visible before it became sparks, and he pulsed it outward like a wave. Zabuza's body seized up as half his body was paralyzed on the side holding the sword. Before swordsman could back up, a giant chain stabbed him through his chest. "Why, you damn Uzumaki!" Naruto grinned before his slitted eyes dilated, and he felt a wave of dizziness and pain. "Sha!" Naruto vaguely registered the screams in his head and around him. He vaguely knew who the screams belonged to, but that wasn't what his mind was on. His mind was handling the paint of metal fragments erupting out of his body, wound, draining and feeding on his blood. Zabuza gave out a hoarse laugh at his final act. "It took a bit. But my sword's hidden ability finally came through. The Kubikuribocho is the blade that will never die. It rebuilds itself, from the blood of its victims, and each broken piece retains this ability. Even those small fragments you managed to chip off that fell into your wound. You threw your life away. Ha, for a plan that might work. For a plan that wasted enough time for me to fatally injure you. You and Haku are the same. You both were just looking for a place to die. The both fell to their knees as their injuries caught up with them. Naruto's injury specifically was like the most painful form of cancer as the metal cells just kept growing. Wow, the little demon of the mist done in by some brat, how pathetic. The shinobi on the bridge looked to the end of it to see the small portly man that was Gato standing there smugly with a small army of bandits behind him. Zabuza managed to muster enough strength to glare at Gato. Gato, what the hell are you doing here? Well, obviously I'm protecting my investments. You see, I have too much cemented into this country, and trusting you to handle this job was clearly a mistake, so I've decided that you are going to die here today on this bridge. Lucky me though, looks like the kid already beat me to it. The man boldly walked forward and stopped when he made it to the lone body of Haku. He looked at her face and rose an eyebrow. Oh? You are that masked kid Zabuza toted around, weren't you? If I had known you were a woman and such a fine piece at that, I would have gotten some fun out of, would have been the perfect payback for you breaking arm, you bitch. Gato had the gall to kick Haku's head. Zabuza could only glare, but Naruto was punched the bridge, cracking it with his knuckles as he pushed himself up. Do not disrespect the dead. Naruto's eyes slitted finally again as his mind ignored his injuries and pain. The irises in Naruto's eyes stayed to fade from their blues to white, making his gaze all the more intimidating as some of the bandits stepped back. Naruto gained a grin that was soaked with both instability and a malicious swayed a bit as he walked forward before stopping over Zabuza. One of his eyes turned red, showing his mind wasn't exactly right at the moment. He's Zabuza, you using that? Guess you aren't anymore, or rather you can't, huh? Mind if I take it off your hands? No? Why, thank you. Referring to his sword, Naruto grabbed the damaged weapon before Zabuza could even process a response. The chain around Naruto's neck cracked with a glowing light as Naruto's chakra flared about him with a hum. A hum similar to the staticky noise you would hear from standing under a giant pylon. Your bandits are fodder, so Gato, you are the only one I will keep alive. Fully bypassing the pain of his own injuries, Naruto vanished from sight as he shot forward. With each long stride he left a cracked impression in the bridge from where his foot made contact. A second later, a man to Gato's right was bisected. It was as if time slowed down as they all turned to the man in slow motion to see Naruto having cleaved him in half with Zabuza's sword. Naruto, bathed in blood, made the metal in his body grow more, but his own chakra also caused that metal to break off him in a weird combination as he littered the bridge with iron. However, even a pig like you will wish he was dead when you find out what joys I have in store for you. With the bloodbath that issued, the only way for the bandits to notice where he had been was the cluttering of metal scraps that fell under each bandit's mutilated and dismembered bodies. But by then it was too late, as the moment the metal fell, so did another body. In the backs of their minds they could only gruesomely wonder if Naruto did this alongside Zabuza, would his brutality be the same? Or worse? Chapter 7. Chunin Exams. The look in Naruto's eyes betrayed him as the finely slitted pupils danced around in his irises as he watched the villagers go at it. He was sitting propped up against a small shack near the bridge with most of his body covered in blood. He grinned as the villagers tortured Gato. Naruto decimated the man's small arm like it was nothing and then dragged the portly man into town and threw him to the villagers. You can guess what happened after that. Somehow Zabuza had held on long enough to give him parting words as he dragged Gato by him. Zabuza basically told him that he knew how the world was and respected Naruto for taking care of Gato, not just for the sake of it but in reaction to the man disrespecting Haku. He whispered a few words to Naruto where only he could hear it, and after that his life left him. He would have loved to have a fair fight against Zabuza, but in the world of shinobi that was a luxury that he just wasn't able to have this time. Thanks to Kakashi and to a hardly even noticeably effort Sakura, they were able to remove the metal growths from his open wounds. That was indeed painful, as it was mostly ripping it out by hand from Naruto, much to their chagrin. Sakura couldn't help much simply because she had hardly any medical knowledge, and was afraid of him seeing as he looked like a walking serial killer. Which was ironic since most seasoned shinobis might as well be called professional killers. The wounds from then on didn't hurt as much but stung and was bandaged hastily so he wouldn't bleed out. That left his upper body clothed in bandages to the forearm. He got up and headed back to Tazuna's house while dragging Zabuza's sword through the ground. He thought back to the bridge and couldn't get Zabuza and Haku off his mind. They had his respect and were great shinobi living as shinobi. Kakashi was going to burn the bodies but threw about keeping the heads. At Naruto's threatening insistence, Kakashi let him bury the two. Naruto on his way back to Tazua's passed by their braves. Haku's grave was marked with the remains of her mask and her needles. Zabuza's, however, was only marked with bandages and his headband. Naruto couldn't leave a shinobi of that level in a bare grave like that. Naruto, in a display of strength, even in his fatigued and injuries body, lifted the sword up in the air with one arm and stabbed it into Zabuza's grave. This was yours anyway. I already got one gift from you, I won't be greedy. He gave his respects before putting his hands in his pockets and walking off. You idiot, did you forget I'm still using this body? Naruto winced at Kuromi's loudness as he laid down on a futon in one of Tazuna's guest rooms. Naruto set up a sound canceller so no one in the house would hear them, but they still made sure no one snuck up on them. The closest to them was Sasuke, but he was resting in one of the nearby rooms. Well, sorry for deciding to break a cursed vampiric sword off into my body, since I obviously knew it would become a metallic cancer. He yelped when Kurom poked a clawed finger into one of Naruto's wounds through the bandages. I don't appreciate your sarcasm right now. She looked at the blood she got on her finger curiously and sniffed it. There is more iron in your blood than what I would normally smell. She channeled her yokai into it, and the crimson stain on her finger turned black. Not sure if that's healthy or not. It is odd though. What is? I've been trying to heal you up for the past hour now. But it has hardly worked. That could be because I'm blocking you. What? She got loud as she looked at him like she had just been hurt, subconsciously touching the chain around her neck. He sat up and put a hand behind her head and pulled her into a one-armed hug as he propped himself up with the other one. The action made her blush as she glanced at him, confused. Think of it as my punishment for allowing myself to get hurt. I can't have you healing up my recklessness too fast all the time. That will just make me more cocky and potentially come back to bite me. Before you get mad, I am using the suppression aspect of my chains to block you, but I'm stopping myself from bleeding out at least. She wrapped her arms around his back and he winced when her nails dug into his back, which just happened to also catch a few of his wounds. I will forgive you because you're an idiot, but I will let you keep those wounds as punishment for your actions. What? But that doesn't make any sense. You are mad about me not letting you heal me for injuries, but you were mad at me for being injured in the first place so badly, and now you are going to punish me by not doing something that you were going to do anyway? None of this makes dash. A jolt of pain went up his back as her nails dug in a little further in warning. Normal, he would check her, but at this range in this situation he wasn't in the best shape to do so. A second later she calmed and gave him a real hug, whether she realized it or not, as she snuggled her face slightly into his shoulder. She did it so naturally that she didn't even realize she did it immediately. About what you said on the bridge earlier today. About that one person who is the most precious to you. He smiled softly as he hugged her with both his arms, holding her tighter, as if that was his way of answering her. But why? I don't care what you've done. Even if you were in control of your actions, I don't care. I wouldn't care. Who you were then and who you are now are two completely different things, and who you are right now in front of me to me is real. It's only been months, yet it might as well have been my entire life, and though that amount of time to you is short for me who has had very little, it's everything. Why I feel this way with you could call it instinct. You can hate yourself, you can hate your actions, you can feel like you don't deserve anything in life, it doesn't matter. It's not important. Because I forgive you. I forgive you. That was probably the second most important thing Naruto or anyone could have said to her. Her eyes widened before her eyes watered. She visibly cried as she hugged him. You don't even know what I'd done. I don't care. You see, can only say that because you don't know. You can tell me whenever you're ready, but I promise you I will be here regardless. He enjoyed the moment as she just held him tighter and cried. Please. Let me heal you. She sat back as she rubbed her eyes of their wetness. He shook his head and sighed, amused. Fine. I can't thank you all enough for what you guys did for us. Tazuna was at the finished bridge a week later with the rest of Team 7. Kakashi was reading his book but still addressed Tazuna. Don't worry about it. Things got rough, but I think my team is all the better for it. Yes, and I will make sure to send the appropriate award to your village in interest in the following week. You guys saved us from Gato and freed this village and this country. Sakura bowed respectfully while Sasuke just grunted in acknowledgement. Well, till next time. We better get going. The group went on their way, running across the bridge to head into the trees. Naruto held back and nodded to Tazuna's family and the villagers. He still had a few bandages on his body where he was sensitive. The small fox was back around his neck, however, and seemed to be snuggling a bit closer than usual. You alright, boy? I'm fine. Nothing I can't handle. Inari, followed by his mother, walked up to Naruto. The boy was a little tearful as he spoke to Naruto. Did you really have to go back already, Nisan? Naruto's eyebrow quirked mirthfully at that but ruffled the boy's head, causing him to shut his eyes. I have to, Inari, it's kind of my job. He glanced over at Tsunami, who looked like she was about to say something. He was surprised when she leaned forward and gave him a quick peck on the lips. Tazuna's jaw dropped while the villagers made various murmurs about their hero. Bibi, but he's so much younger than you. She ignored her father while Inari finally opened his eyes and looked up at them confused. She coyly put a finger to her lips, pouting them a little as she looked at Naruto. If ever you're in the area or need a place to stay, you know where I am. Don't you mean us? She once again ignored her father. Naruto just nodded his head a little nervously, causing her to smile a little more as she caught it. He turned on his heel slightly faster than normal and ran off. He grumbled as he had a slight blush on his face. Damn it, she caught me off guard. What did you do? He could feel killing intent from Kuromi as he conveniently stared ahead of him at the trees so as to not look at her on his shoulder. Nothing. I mean, sure, I wouldn't have minded hitting that. I mean, all I did was help her around the house. She stared at him for a second before lying back down around his neck, oddly silent. You took that easily. You're reading my memories, aren't you? I have no idea what you're talking about. At their travel speed now, without a civilian slowing them down, they reached their village by the next day. So your team was able to come out fine from a ranked mission? I question your judgment with sending a fresh team through all that, but it looks like you came out alright this time. Let's not make it a habit though, Kakashi. The old Hokage took a puff of his pipe as he spoke to his jonin a little sternly. Kakashi just laughed nervously while scratching the back of his head. Sakura simply glared at their teacher from behind. Well, good work regardless. You all will be rewarded the pay of an A-ranked mission. You all were successful and had to fight some powerful shinobi. Also, our partnership with Wave now may also be a boon to our economy, what with their bridge opening up trade and the monopoly being lifted on their country. How are you feeling, Naruto-kun? I heard about you being injured. Naruto shrugged. I'm fine. I've always been a fast healer after all. Sarutobi eyed him for a second before accepting it. If the boy was fine and looked fine, then there was probably no need for concern. Well, I'm sure you all are tired from your mission. That'll be all for today. As they left the room with Naruto waving to him goodbye, the Hokage spoke out to himself. Danzo, how is Naruto developing? Danzo came out of the shadows as Sarutobi looked out the window. The boy is developing fast. When he was under my care, he requested that I not train him in shinobi arts. So all I did was train the boy's instincts while he studied chakra control exercises and did his own physical training. The boy has only been a genin for hardly more than a couple of months, and yet as soon as he had a mission where his skills were put to the test, he figured out how to feel out, at least to some degree, the nature of his chakras. And the saying knowing his power is definitely proven true with the boy. Kakashi has hardly taught him anything, but the little bit Naruto learns he runs with it. You speak highly of Naruto-kun's abilities. It also seems your routine are as great at intel as ever. Sarutobi eyed him as he glanced back. Danzo appeared to not have noticed. It is only thanks to you that they can operate now so freely. It should be noted, however, that he has a knack for knowing when he's being watched. The weathered Hokage nodded as he started to ponder thoughts on Naruto and the village's future. Week later, Naruto stared at the ceiling blankly as he kept his breathing even. Not that I mind all that much really, but I am a growing guy, you know. What you're doing can complicate things. Kuromi was laying on his chest, snuggling in apparently as he slept. She stirred and sat up, making him twitch at where her soft rear pushed down on him. At least she was wearing clothes. Kind of. One of his shirts was definitely his kind of cliché. If it were a different time, he would question why she was even wearing his clothes if she can create her own. Complicate what? I'm always with you anyway, with inside you or on your shoulder as a fox, so how is this any different? His eyes narrowed at her as she tilted her head at him, confused. I'm not sure if you're really that innocent and oblivious, or if you are messing with me. I thought you didn't have a problem with me and now you can't touch me? I don't understand you humans. Were you lying to me about forgiving me? That's not. That has nothing to do with. He stopped as her ears drooped. He sighed and pulled her down into him and held her. Fine, I'll just ignore your complaints then. She didn't fight his embrace this time as she laid pressed against him, and they enjoyed the morning. I guess getting the Danzo's lackeys to build you your own room was pointless. It was his gift to Kuromi that he had built while they were gone at Wave. It was a simple room, but the bed had red and black silk sheets, and was of a higher quality than his own. She loved the bed, but ever since they got back from Wave she had been kind of clingy. You can sleep there with me if you want. Naruto kissed her forehead, making her blush lightly. If that's what you want, my queen. It's nice to hear you say that. She grinned as she pushed back a little and gained a mischievous glint in her eyes. Would you like to do that thing again? What thing? She grew bashful again and couldn't make eye contact with him as she fumbled with her words. Why, you know that thing you people do with your mouths. Oh? He smirked, and before she could say anything else he put a hand behind her head and brought her down to mash her lips against his as she squeaked in surprise. It instantly became a heavy makeout as Naruto made the intensity, as such that Kuromi tried to struggle to move back, but Naruto kept her head in place, and her squirming only spurred him on. He stabbed and swirled his tongue around in her mouth. She made short moans as her eyes glared back before finally blood ran out her nose. A little bit later Naruto was stretching his arms and glancing amused at Kuromi, who was laying on her side on his bed in fetal position with her tail wrapped around her, and her hands uncovering her face as she whimpered. Why, you're cruel. You shouldn't have encouraged me then. Besides, seeing as you got so excited you gained a nosebleed, I'd say you liked it too. I may have acted a little naive, but you could have let me have my fun. Her voice was small as she was too embarrassed to look at him. And deprive myself of this moment? If you acted less cute or looked less hot, then maybe. She didn't say anything after that, so he would take that as his win. Now come on, let's get you washed up. I have to go meet the team soon. I can wash myself. He made his way towards her menacingly as she turned to look at him. But it's my job to pamper you. Before he could react, her tail slapped him into the floor hard. He groaned as she glared at him and tried to cover herself as if she were more exposed than she already was. I was joking. Team 7 was now standing out on a bridge in the village waiting for their teacher. Sakura and Sasuke were staring at Naruto oddly as his small fox on his shoulder kept licking a nice scratch on his cheek. Naruto looked oblivious to them on the outside, but internally was having his own conversation. You don't have to lick my wounds, you know. I kind of deserved it. You might have deserved it, but I should have had better control of my emotions than to lash out like that. I tried to take you for a walk and have you take a shit in public. Though your appearance is a fox and I was joking, it was pretty crude. Why yes, well I'm already stopping your healing, so that's punishment enough. Naruto thought about her words for a moment before something clicked. Wait, did you stop my healing just so you could lick my face? And no. I would enjoy it better if you licked me in your yokai form. Next time I'm bathing you for sure. Maybe a lit I will bite you. Naruto grinned nervously, and went blue in the face as she opened her small mouth near his neck, showing that even if she was a small fox currently, her teeth were still razor sharp. Feeling an unusual silence, they looked around them to see Sasuke and Sakura looking at them a little disgusted. We started talking out loud, didn't we? Masochistic furry. Perverted, wait, she can talk? Ignoring his slightly bruised ego and Sakura's question nor denying their accusations, he was grateful that Kakashi chose that moment to show up. Okay, Naruto's fetishes aside. Naruto's eyes now turned into slits on their sensei, which he waved off. Glad you all are here, I dash. Holy shit, you're on time. Did you find your path of life and find out it was really short and disappointing, and that's why you're here sooner? Or did you remember you are supposed to not be a terrible role model for aspiring genin? Sasuke smirked while Sakura wasn't sure if Kakashi was really there. Naruto's words stung a little, but Sakura's reaction, which was innocent, struck a bigger blow. Ma. You guys know how to hurt a guy's feelings, and here I was thinking you guys might want to become chunin. Naruto's eyebrow rose as he scratched his chin. Oh, it is that time of the year, huh? Kakashi had Sasuke's attention now, seeing as this would be something that would make him stronger. The chunin exams? But sensei, we've only been genin for a few months, we aren't ready? What do you mean we? Speak for yourself. Sakura felt like she had been shattered as Naruto and Sasuke dismissed her so easily. It was made worse by the fact she was pretty sure the fox was snickering at her. Alright, everyone, be nice. Yes, I feel you all are ready to take the exams. You have all come a long way since the academy, and even if you aren't ready to become a chunin, being up against other shinobi that may be your age and maybe even stronger than you would be a great learning experience. Kakashi let that sink for a moment before turning serious. But make no mistake, this won't be a game. There will be shinobi from other villages and the risk of death is always a thing, so if you feel you aren't ready then don't take it. You guys have until Friday to decide, so that's 5 days from now. Sakura was the only one to react fearfully at the prospect of dying. The boys were too distracted at the idea of good fights. Naruto walked the streets of the village after just having ramen at Ichiraku's. They were nice to him and ramen was among his favorites, so he ate there every now and then when he could. As he walked he could feel the glares of the villagers pointed at him. He was used to it as he always had to deal with glares. Kuromi started growling at them. Though they ignored her, some grew pissed off by what they saw as an uppity fox or bastard spawn of the Kyuubi. Naruto sighed seeing a problem coming and pushed his headband down over his eyes. The air around him changed as there was a low inaudible buzzing that emanated off of him, and the villagers actually started to part away from him in fear. Kuromi looked at him confused but didn't say anything as he kept walking. "Let go of me, you jerk." Konohamaru was being held off the ground by some foreign shinobi. The guy had purple face paint and was wearing a cat suit or something. Behind him was a blonde kunoichi with a large fan. "Kankuro, leave him alone before you get us in trouble." The blonde behind him groaned annoyed. "Shut it, Temari, I'm just having some fun and teaching this boy some manners." Do you know who I am? If you don't put me down, boss will get angry." Konohamaru tried to put up a brave front while his two friends started to panic a little. Sakura, who was with them, wasn't sure what to do as she was partly to blame for the situation as she was the one who scared the academy students into running into the foreign shinobi. A small rock flew through the air and hit Kankuro's hand, making him grunt as he dropped the boy. "Always in trouble, Sakura?" Everyone followed the sound of the voice to see Sasuke sitting in a tree tossing a pebble above his hand. "Sasuke-kun. Oh, he's a hottie," Temari thought to herself with a smirk, ignoring her brother. "Now as for you, get lost." Sasuke directed his gaze on to Kankuro, pissing him off. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, on top of a billeting, a few more genin were having a conversation of their own, both of them women. "Come on, we have to go meet up with B-sensei. Kumonin aren't exactly welcomed here, so it would be best if we didn't wander off too far." "Relax, Yujitone. I'm just watching our competition." The girl had mint green colored hair with orange pupilless eyes and a caramel tan to her skin. Around her neck was a Kumo headband. The girl she was talking to was a little older by a year or two and had long pale blonde hair tied in the back into a tail of sorts. She had a lithe frame and dark eyes that gave off a sense of professionalism. Yujito looked down at the group and sighed. They were clearly shinobi from other villages and probably hadn't known each other long but were already fighting. Kankuro took off a big package off his back and set it on the ground. "So now we got a stuck-up kid trying to look cool. I can't wait to put you in your place." "Wow, so much noise. You should be nicer to our guest, Sasuke." Everyone's eyes widened, even the Kumo kunoichi on the roof at the voice. In a small gust of wind, Naruto appeared behind Kankuro, causing Temari to take a step back. "I didn't even notice him till he spoke, yet he's this close." Naruto turned his head to her, making her uneasy. He pushed his headband up, showing one eye that was slitted at her before turning to normal. "Well, hello there. If you're the first thing I get to see, then I definitely don't see a problem here." She blushed heavily now that she could look at his face as she recovered from his words. "Oh, Kami!" Kankuro jumped away from him, causing Naruto to refocus on him as he looked confused. "What? You trash are just popping up everywhere. I've had it, I'll just take care of you, no." Naruto walked towards him, not threatened. "Can't we just be friends?" "What, no?" "Oh well, then you can go fuck yourself." Some of them face faulted while Sakura covered one of the kid's ears and was about to yell at him for the pointlessly crude response. Kakuro was a little surprised before he grinned. "Oh, you've got some balls, kid. But you won't get far running your mouth." He moved his fingers discreetly as Naruto made his way towards him. Naruto stopped for a second as he felt something stall his body but didn't see anything. He shrugged and kept walking, breaking through whatever it was, which unnerved Kankuro a little. As he walked close, a dark presence surrounded him, and Kankuro found himself unable to move. "Well, if I don't have a connection to you, then I don't care if you die." He was only slightly taller than Naruto was now, but for some reason it felt like Naruto loomed over him up close. Naruto paused and looked towards the tree Sasuke was in randomly. "If you're gonna glare at me, you should at least have the stones to do it where I can see you." Sasuke looked confused before looking to his right and turning shocked still as he saw a short redhead standing upside down on a tree branch. Pale teal-colored eyes locked with Naruto's, causing him to smirk. It was at that moment they noticed the fox around Naruto's neck as it lifted its head up to nibble on his ear. "Ah, Kuromi-chan, that tickles." "What? What?" 3 different genin all recoiled from the demonic mental voices in their heads, giving them headaches. Yujito rubbed her head as she groaned. "What? What is it?" "Sorry, kitten. I was just surprised is all. Though she probably wouldn't want us throwing her name around. Kuromi is the name of the Kyuubi who you know is also a fox. It's probably just a coincidence, Naya?" They saw the small fox start to make small noises as it spoke into the boy's ear, and his eyebrows shot up. "Oh really?" Naruto pointed a finger straight at the red-headed boy, who flinched at the suddenness. "Hey, I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet you. According to my pretty little friend here, you're just like me." Naruto gave him a look that made his eyes widen in surprise. "And you too." Naruto's head snapped to the other direction, and the girls jumped a bit at his gaze as his eyes flashed red for a second to get the point across. "Are just like me too. Well, looks like these exams are going to be great." Naruto walked off without reason as the 3 academy students scrambled after him. Before he got far, he looked back over his shoulder right at all 3 of the other containers and smirked as Kuromi climbed on his head, and gave them a sly wink as they flared their combined intent. Sasuke wasn't sure why, but he broke out in a sweat. No one else felt it though, other than the 3 it was directed at. They all felt heavy as they saw a spectral image overlap Naruto of a long furred tail and matching ears waving about before they vanished. "But until the exams start, don't cause any trouble, okay?" Yujito gulped as he walked off, leaving the normal people confused. Did he just discreetly threaten us? I never thought I'd see it. That was definitely Kuromi Onisama. For an avatar of malicious intent, she sure appears to be oddly close to her jailer, Naya? I don't know, maybe he's worse than her? Kid and I really hope not. Humans are creative enough as is without being fueled by dark energy. Well, he's hot. What do you think, Nana-chan? I believe in a matriarchal society. Fu's brows scrunched in confusion. That's not what I asked you. I asked for your opinion, not your beliefs. As one who is considered an insect queen, I do not see mates the same as you do as either greater than me or my equals. But if you are asking if I see him as a suitable gene donor for you, then ... This isn't about me. It's not. But didn't you ask me for my opinion on that male that belongs to Kuromi so that you could therefore validate and embolden your own opinion for said male? Yes? Then we are right back where we started. I swear you are making this difficult on purpose. Fu's face was red from embarrassment, as she facepalmed in defeat. However, if Kuromi is familiar with him, you should probably be wary. Knowing her tendencies, the male could be controlled by her, and unstable. Naruto walked down the streets with his hands behind his head. So Kuromi-chan, what do you think their impressions of me are? They are probably thinking about your mental stability and sexual attraction. That's oddly specific. Are you speaking for them or yourself? Yes. Naruto's eyebrow twitched as Kuromi snickered at him. There was a poof of smoke before Kuromi was standing right in front of him with her hands draped around his neck. He was a little surprised and looked around them. Don't worry, there is no one nearby to see me transform. She gave a slightly coy smile which excited him a little. Now that some of my siblings have seen you, they know you are connected to me in some way and probably are already figuring out that you are my container. Based on how we interact with each other in front of them, and their hosts may cause some of them to react more strongly. Tease them, tease you. Makes no difference to me if the end result is the same. He growled a little at that, causing her to giggle as she continued. You will be put on display, so make sure you outshine the other containers. Because you are my container, I expect you to become the strongest. And so you should be able to handle hosts that are at least your age adequately. And what do I get out of it? My continued respect and admiration? Well, that doesn't seem fair. What more do you want? I'm sealed inside of you, so technically I already belong to you. The only thing left is for you to seal the deal. He went rigid as she gently scratched her nail under his chin and winked before vanishing to go back inside of him. He stood them for a few moments before walking towards a wall and ramming his head through it. One thing was for sure, things were about to get a lot more exciting. And he would have his revenge. Chapter 8, The First Exam. Wait, I was joking. Kuromi cried out as Naruto chewed lightly on one of her fox ears as he held her from behind. I'm sure you were on some level. He pinned her front to the bed as her tail betrayed her whipping about. Then why are you mad at me? He licked down the crook of her neck, causing her to moan out as her container did as he pleased. Oh, I'm not mad at all. It's more like I'm not holding back. He pressed his crotch against her rear, reveling in its softness as he started to massage the sensitive parts of her backside. Because of the nature of them, she wasn't able to get away as the literal spine-tingling pleasure made her want to stay in place. She buried her face into the bedsheets to try and muffle herself. He sneakily got to the knot of nervous right above her tail. Let me hear that lovely voice of yours. She cried out but quickly shut her mouth to quiet herself. Naruto sat back and calmed down. If you don't want to do this, then this is one thing I won't force you to do. He was about to stop at her silence before her tail wrapped around his waist and held him in place. Wait. She shyly spoke into the sheets. I want this, but I don't know if I deserve it. I don't think that really matters at this point. And also, Yeah? I have never done this before. Naruto blinked surprised. But I mean, how could you not have? The fact you would assume such a thing I think might bother me. Her slitted eyes narrowed at him in warning. But really, how long have you been around? You're pissing me off now. He mentally shrugged and pulled her up till her back was against his chest. Kuromi's breath hitched as his hand found the zipper of her top in the front and slowly pulled it down. Still, it makes me kind of happy. It means I get to be your first and hopefully only. Her head turned to him as they finally shared a mutually initiated kiss. The two moaned into each other from the deep kiss. After a minute they let each other breathe as her eyes glazed a little and she stared lovingly at him. Yes, my dear container. Be this Bijou Queen's one and only king. I want you to mark me just like my seal marks your body. If he wasn't already going to that right there was all the permission he needed. He zipped down the rest of her top, exposing her glorious mounds to the world. She yelped when he suddenly turned her around and put her on her back as if he were possessed. She felt a little insecure as he started unabashed right at her chest. Her breasts were a low D cup and fit her teenage body sinfully well. He audibly swallowed as her breasts jiggled upon release, and he focused on the pink rosy nipples upon her tanned skin. You don't wear underwear. I create clothes out of my own energy. I don't see the point for the added padding that humans wear. He nodded his head as that did make sense in her case, he supposed. His eyes then traveled to her neck where his chain was still present. His hand reached under and hooked the chain, causing Kuromi's eyes to widen as it began to slacken. Her hands grabbed his forearm, stopping him. Please don't, I can't control my actions if you don't suppress me. Worry shone in her eyes and her voice as Naruto smiled softly. Then let go. I trust you with my life anyway. With a quick tug the chain around her neck shattered and she gasped as her mind clouded to an extent and her red eyes slit even more finely than ever. Kuromi-chan? He was a little surprised when she suddenly grabbed him and held him down to her as she hungrily locked lips with him. He tried to brace a hand against the bed to get his bearings as Kuromi acted on her own and was literally sucking the air from his lungs. Who knew that all this time her primal lust was being held back this much? He stopped worrying and just decided to counter her as his hands made it to her bare tits, squeezing and kneading them, getting moans of appreciation from her into his mouth. Her nails acted more as claws now as she dug them into his clothes and ripped off his jacket and shirt. After a while her arms loosened enough for him to back off her a little as she panted into him, a trail of saliva connecting their tongues. I don't know why I'm like this. I am a being of hate, and a few months ago I would have ripped you apart from the inside out without guilt despite all the pain I've already caused you. Yet here I am. What are you saying? There is an old human saying that hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I'm not that experienced with humans and these emotions are still new to me, but would it be wrong of me to say that I love you, Naruto-kun? His eyes widened as he truly hadn't expected those words from her. The smile she gave off reassured him of her sincerity, as it was so warm and bright it was as if the room was glowing. In fact, he was certain she really was glowing for at least a second or two. Nothing wrong with that at all. He cupped her face, which she held lovingly, while his other hand went down between her legs and cupped her there, making her breath hitch. He brought that hand back up to her face, causing her to look embarrassed as it was covered in her juices. I can see how much you love me. She would look back on this moment later and note how swiftly Naruto was able to remove his pants, as he now presented himself as bare as her. She supposed her not actually thinking about it added to the surprise, but now that his manhood was revealed to her, she now hated how he blocked certain memories pertaining to his girth from her. He was hardly in his mid-teens, but he was already around 10 inches massive and very thick. She was so surprised that she didn't notice the dark markings and new scars that were added to his body. This would probably be what other humans would consider the cock of a demon. Not that she knew anything about that. All she knew was that his size scared her a little. He saw her reaction as he moved between her legs and rested his throbbing girth on top of her folds, causing her to hiss at the heat. Not what you were expecting. Aren't you bigger than necessary? If necessary were all that mattered, then I'd probably be only half or a third this size. No, I want to mate and pleasure you until you forget all else, so it's only natural that I would be born with the tools to make a bijou queen submit. Though I am still growing. He rubbed himself against her as she moaned. He pressed his engorged head against her small dripping snatch and noticed her tensing up. Just relax and let me do the work. She smiled softly and nodded. I don't know much, but please at least use my body to relieve yourself. He pressed hard to get his head into her. He grabbed onto her hips and thrust forward hard. Her back arched as her spread her wide and deep. Neither of them ever feeling like this before. They had to adjust. Kuromi was hot, wet, and very tight. He definitely tore through her barrier, and he would question later why an originally genderless former chakra construct would even have one, yet she seemed to be feeling more pleasure than pain. So thick. He got most of himself in her, and already was almost knocking at her door. The feeling was incredible as her womanhood clenched like a vice down on him. Kuromi had her eyes clenched, getting used to the moderately painful feeling of being stretched, but at the same time had a small, sweet smile with her lips puckered that he felt looked extremely sexy. Not one to be slowed down, Naruto caught himself, and slowly pulled out, making her whine as she had just gotten used to the feeling of him inside her, or so she thought. He then eased back and getting a feel of her insides as she let out a small moan. Quickly getting into it, he started going faster, being driven only by her voice and the feeling of him clenching on his manhood. She felt her release coming already. Just being with him was making her weak. Her body seized up as and clung to him on reflex, holding him in place as she came hard. Naruto shivered as the pleasurable grips of her orgasm made her squirt, and coaxed his own release out as he came faster than he planned. Kaya! She cried out as Naruto let loose thick amounts of his seed into her, filling her fast and causing her to come harder. It felt like he deposited a weight in her, it was so thick and made her feel full and warm. As she came down from her high, she mewed when Naruto lapped at the thin layer of sweat along her neck. See, can you at least try to hold on? Naruto groaned as he gave her a slight glare, to which she gave a small apologetic smile. Gomen, I made you finish fast, didn't I? Don't insult me. He bucked his hips a little, making her moan a bit, showing he was still hard. He grinned at her as her inner walls clenched in anticipation. The night is still young, and this is the final day before the exams start. I want to enjoy it with you. That was exactly what she wanted to hear and more. They both only had a taste of the pleasure, and were feeling quite greedy at the moment. She gave him a sultry look that made his mind hazy. As you wish. I'm not going anywhere, my master. Before he could stop himself, he started growling hungrily at her that would have made her submit to him if she wasn't already doing so. Naruto supposed it might have been his fault that she turned out so spoiled for his pleasures and punishments, but after that night that was a fault he would happily take responsibility for. Good morning, Sasuke-kun. Naruto, are you okay? Sakura ran up to the two, waving, but looked at Naruto oddly for his weird expression. He seemed to have a happy aura waving off him stronger than usually, and his eyes were open fully and shining as if he were on some kind of substance. Completely different from his clueless and tired expressions. What's Sakura-chan? I'm perfectly fine. Wonderful day we're having. Sun is out, birds are chirping, and now we can take our chunin exams. I am feeling fantastic, thanks for asking. Nothing could possibly go wrong today. Now then, Team 7 onward to victory. Sasuke and Sakura watched Naruto march into the examination building, not sure how to feel. We're gonna die. Sasuke's first words, and already Sakura wasn't feeling too confident. If they were familiar with the expressions of animals, they would see Kuromi, who was sleeping on his head with a small smile on her face. She peeked one eye open and looked down at him, amused. Dial it down a bit, my love. Hi. You should go inside and rest some more, Kuromi. I can handle things fine from here. So because you have so much stamina you think I can't stay alert just like you? I didn't say anything like that. His eye gleamed as he decided to play with her a little. Are you trying to babysit me now? You can't even walk. I see, can still walk. I was just wobbling. A fanged smirk spread over the corner of his face as he listened to her excuse. Your clinginess and ego are among your most adorable traits. Get that smile off your face before your competition thinks you're a special needs case. But I need you and you're pretty special to you. This is where you're supposed to go. Oh well, just shut up, go prove yourself. Yes, my queen. Naruto and his team made it to a group of other young shinobi who were being blocked from entry into a room by 2 other shinobi. One of them smacked down an odd-looking genin whose outfit consisted almost entirely of green spandex. Stop messing around like a bunch of idiots, and drop the genjutsu already. Sasuke stepped forward, getting everyone's attention. Yes, Sasuke-kun, you tell them. It's clear we are only on the 2nd floor, yet the classroom makes it look like we are on the 3rd. Sakura's words made a number of them look on confused while the 2 disguised genin at the door smirked. Sasuke smirked as well as he looked back at Naruto, who was still a little distracted. You noticed the poor genjutsu too, didn't you, Dobe? You do after all have the best sensory abilities of our generation. You're? What genjutsu? Naruto squinted as he rubbed his head confused. His teammates almost face-faulted at that as Sasuke tried to remain cool. What do you mean, what genjutsu? Well, because of how naturally disruptive my chakra is, it's very hard for others' chakra to disrupt my own, so if the rank of genjutsu is too low, I often don't even notice it. Sasuke nodded at the information. I suppose that does make a certain degree of sense. Oh ho? Looks like we got ourselves a promising team here. Still, you may have handled the genjutsu, but let's see you handle this. The disguised genin threw a kick at Sasuke, but it was too slow to stop Sasuke from countering with his own. Whoosh! Their eyes widened when they were stopped as the green spandex genin appeared between them, blocking their kicks easily. This got Naruto's attention as he glanced over at the boy with an interested gaze. A fast one, huh? Lee, what happened to the plan? You were the one who told us to hide our skills. Lee's other male teammate came up to him with an annoyed disposition. He had long brown hair and pale near-white eyes that reminded Naruto of Hinata. I know, but... Lee balled up his fist and suddenly at random looked straight at Sakura. He walked up to her. My name is Rock Lee. Your name is Sakura, correct? Yes? Lee gave a thumbs up as his teeth gleamed in the light. Please be my girlfriend. I will protect you with my life. She looked sick and Naruto started to snicker. Absolutely not. What? But why? You look weird and disgusting. His confidence was shattered and Naruto started laughing loudly to himself. The other 2 on Rock Lee's team walked up to them. Hey you, what's your name? Sasuke looked at the pale-eyed man and scoffed. Where are your manners? You're supposed to give your own name before asking for someone else's. The guy ignored it and asked another question. You're a rookie, right? How old are you? I don't have to answer that. Sasuke turned and walked away, angering the man only for him to jump when he felt a hand on his shoulder. Naruto gave a friendly smile before following after his team. Don't worry, he's just planning hard to get. Don't touch me. The girl behind him giggled as she watched Naruto and Sasuke go off with Sakura. Must be fun having a team full of cute guys. Lee kind of overshadows any appeal Neji has. Hey you with the attitude? Hold for one moment please. Team 7 was walking through a gym-type area and turned around to the voice to see Lee having followed them. Need something? My name is Rock Lee. We know. We were there when you introduced yourself to Sakura. You said it was common courtesy for the challenger to give their name first. Well, I challenge you to a battle, Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke smirked as Lee now had his attention. So you know me yet you still want to fight me? Sasuke. He flinched when Naruto called out to him in a calm tone. It is for that reason you will get your ass beat. Just for warning you. Do whatever you want. Naruto chuckled as he stood over Sasuke, who was scuffed up and crouching on the ground. What we learn? Sasuke only glared at him, causing Naruto to laugh more. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Naruto chose to keep his attention on Sasuke and not what was going on behind him. Too bad Sakura didn't do the same, as she was emotionally scarred. What even is this? My instincts warned me of danger, so I felt it was better not to look. That being said, Sasuke, you should have been able to feel his strength, and should have felt the threat. With the bruises on his hands and how much he has probably trained to get to that point. For simpler terms, he is someone in my class. This made Sasuke speechless, as he was shocked that Naruto would even acknowledge the freak to such a degree. He's worked hard. If you want to match or beat someone like that, you need more skill and you need to train longer and harder. But I'm an Uchiha. Strong fights will only make me stronger. Naruto shrugged and walked on, forcing Sakura to come with him so she wouldn't keep staring at the two awkward ninja. Looks like his fire is still burning strong. Ah, all three of you made it. Now you can officially enter into the chunin exams. What so if all three of us wasn't here, we wouldn't be able to go forward? Naruto rose an eyebrow, as that would have been good to know. Nope. The chunin exams are after all taken in teams of 3, so without even one of your teammates you would have failed before you even began. Well, I would have been fine either way. If my team wasn't ready, then I'd simply replace them. His tone grew dark for a second, making said teammates pale. Yes, I suppose you could have. Well, you all are here now, and that's what matters. You all have grown in the short time since you became genin. This will be a test to see how much exactly you all have grown. I have faith in all of you, so good luck. They all gave a nod of appreciation before walking through the double doors. The moment they walked through the doors, Sakura felt her confidence leave her, as they were the targets of a bunch of menacing eyes. The room was filled with chunin hopefuls from varying villages. Naruto and Kuromi, who now rose her head up to mimic him, both looked around as they surveyed the area. Wow, I haven't seen this many extras since I was tortured in the streets as a kid. Naruto-kun, why would you say that? Gomen Kuromi-chan, don't worry about it. Sasuke-kun. Sakura quickly forgot her discomfort as Ino suddenly tackled Sasuke's back. Did you miss me, Sasuke-kun? I know I missed you. Ino, pig, get off him. Man, you two are as loud as ever when you go at it. Ino followed the voice before looking over at Naruto. Her eyes widened for a second before her memory caught up with her. Oh, Naruto. I almost didn't recognize your new look for a second. Looking good. I still can't believe you hid this for so long. She got off Sasuke's back and stood in front of Naruto to poke him in his chest. Yeah, well, a ninja has to have his secrets. He grew a little amused when Naruto kept poking his chest. Yeah, I guess so. She brought her fist to her mouth inquisitively, as her other hand kept touching him now with more fingers as she started to go along his abs. Ino, pig, stop molesting my teammates. Sakura's graceful ape voice was sure to snap Ino out of her stupor as she kept her hands to herself. Man, what a drag you guys are here too. Shikamaru lazed up to them with Choji following in tow, munching on a bag of chips. Yahoo gang's all here, huh? Kiba met them as well, along with the rest of Team 8 Hinata and Shino. I don't know how you guys were able to make it with such a loser dragging you down. Kiba mocked at Naruto. He just grinned in a friendly manner. You'd know all about that, wouldn't you, Kiba? What did you say? Naruto was filled with mirth as Kiba growled at him. The little pup on top of Kiba's head, Akamaru, noticed Kuromi on Naruto's head. His tail wagged a little as he barked. Arf. Hello? Kuromi simply turned her nose up at him. Humph, don't breathe in my direction, wet-nosed mongrel. You. Akamaru looked downtrodden as Kiba blinked in surprise. Kuromi spoke out loud in her fox form, so others understood her this time and were amused at the short interaction between the two canines, or rather puppy and vulpine. Naruto rubbed her head, which she closed her eyes and pressed her face into his hand and purred in a very cat-like manner. Now, Kuromi-chan, be nice. He didn't mean it at all. Since when did you have a fox? Well, she's my partner, and has been with me all my life. I've just kept her hidden until recently. Nice vague answer. The others accepted that, while Shikamaru seemed to eye the fox a little longer. Naruto pretended to not notice as he turned his attention to Kiba's two teammates. Specifically the little blank-eyed mouse behind him. Ah, Hinata-chan. Nice to see you again. Hinata Hyuga, she was of said noble clan and was a timid little thing. Very much like a mouse, but she was always nice to him. With her small frame, pale eyes with the faintest tints of lavender, and meek demeanor, she was definitely a cute one. Hello, and Naruto-kun. How are you? She had a small smile simply because her crush was talking to her, but she couldn't bring herself to look him in the eyes. Kuromi eyed the girl before grinning in her own fox way. Oh, so the small mouse child wishes to mate with my container? Mouse child, wait, what? Kuromi looked at him mentally a little surprised. What do you mean, what? Surely you must have noticed the girl's desire? Well, sure, I figured that she liked me, but isn't mating kind of jumping the gun? Do you not smell the desire? I thought your sense of smell was high enough to pick up on that. Well, I do smell desire, but I think hers is being blocked. How is that possible? Because your own desire to mate is masking everything else out. His sweat dropped a little right before Kuromi's tail slapped him. Everyone eyed him weirdly as Ino whispered over to Sakura. What's going on? He stared off into space for a good 30 seconds and now his foxes ticked off at him. Sakura shrugged. It happens every now and then, just ignore it. Hey, you guys should keep it down, you know. The group all turned the voice to see a young man with gray hair tied in a ponytail and glasses walking towards them. You guys are the rookies straight out of the academy, right? I wouldn't be bringing too much attention to yourselves if I were you. Yeah, well, who asked you? Kiba barked at the guy angrily. My name is Yakushi Kabuto. But you guys should look around, you've attracted quite the crowd. The rookies looked around to see the entire room basically glaring at them, making them feel from all over the elemental nations were her with the prospect of moving up, and her were just some rookie babies taking it like it's some joke. Or at least that's how they saw it. Ah, don't worry, Kuromi-chan. You're still the most adorable one to me. Yes, you are. Naruto was nuzzling Kuromi's cheek as she was held in front of him. She grumbled a bit at the awkwardness as the actions caused by his stupidity and playfulness made her blush a bit. Naruto's oblivious act in front of such a threatening presence was enough to distract them as they regained their nerves. Well, he's a weird one. No harm, no foul, I guess, though. You all are after all just rookies, so you can't be expected to act like the rest of us. You actually remind me of myself when I first took the exams. Several of them caught the implications of his words, but Sakura was the one who would ask about it. Kabuto-san? This isn't your first time taking the exams? He looked a bit abashed as the older man rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Well, actually, this is my 7th time. The exams are held twice a year, so this is my 4th year attempting. Wow, you must be an expert at this then. Sakura exclaimed out, surprised. Oh, just complete trash. Sasuke added his own 2 cents that caused a few to smirk. Kabuto's sweat dropped a little but ignored the insult. He brought out a deck of orange cards as he explained. I might not be the best, but I've still gathered quite a lot of information over the years. Do you have information on specific shinobi? Sasuke stepped forward as the man now had his attention. I might. Do you have someone in mind? Yes. There is a short Sunanin with red hair that I believe went by the name Gaara. Then there is Rock Lee and Uzumaki Naruto. The last one surprised the ones there. Sasuke closed his eyes to force himself not to look at Naruto, who he was sure was grinning on his neck. Ah, Sasuke-kun. You could have at least taken me out to dinner first if you wanted to get to know me. Oh, so you know their names and one of them is even your own teammate? Well, that's no fun. Well then, first up is Rock Lee. He put the card on the ground and channeled chakra into it as information was revealed. Rock Lee, he's a year older than most of you at about age 16. He's done 20 D ranks and 11 C ranks. Over the course of a year, that amount is decent. He has virtually no skill in any ninja art except taijutsu. But his skill in said field is off the charts. Keep your distance from him. His teammates are Tenten and Hyuga-Niji. Hinata flinched at the mention of the name as Kabuto continued. Sabaku no Gaara, I don't have much information on him. His stats are unknown to me. His D ranks are unknown, but he has taken 8 C ranks and 1 B rank. He's a rookie as well, but here's the scary thing. He's completed every mission and has never received so much as a scratch or even been touched. This didn't fill the Lear rookies with confidence at all. Both shinobi mentioned so far, it was clearly dangerous to get near them, which is an issue because genin don't usually have the reserves to be long-range jutsu specialists. Now for the last one. Uzumaki Naruto. Wow, look at this kid. He has 7 D ranks and 1 C rank that was elevated to an A rank. A mission where he killed a kunoichi along with a swordsman of the mist Momoichi Zabuza? He was critically injured in the fight with the latter, but still went on to massacre scores of bandits not a few minutes after with the man's own blade. Sasuke scowled while a lot of the girls in the room were looking at Naruto in awe and interest. But wait, there's more. He was dead last in the academy and hid his abilities until recently. While his stats are unknown, none of them are lower than his teammate Uchiha Sasuke, who is a genius in his own right, and his chakra reserves and stamina are assumed to be his high points to an insane degree. He also has possibly 2 bloodlines, one of which is from the Uzumaki line, and is possibly the rarest in the world after the first Hokage's Mokuton. He also has a few more C ranks than his teammates that were blacklisted and dash. Out of nowhere the card was crushed, and the ground under it cracked. Naruto whistled as he rubbed the back of his head confused. Wow, that was quite the info dub you had on me. It's almost as if I'm the main character. That, or it could be the fact that you haven't been hiding your feats that well. Well, yeah, it could be that. Naruto's eyes slitted and his irises paled as the air around him became suffocating. But then again, some of that information a lowly genin would not have been able to acquire, and that fast too. I can only think of a few people with the means to get such information so easily, and they are quite the snake. Kabuto backed up as he held his hands up nervously. Come on now, calm down, we're all friends here. I don't have friends. Kabuto winced a little at that. Wow, that's kind of sad. Naruto stopped in his step as they heard Kuromi making little animal noises towards him. Am I not your friend? Well, you're my best friend. More of a lover really at this point. Oh. Okay then. Her tail wagged a little on top of Naruto's head. Naruto remembered where he was and looked around to see judgmental eyes. His peers didn't understand Kuromi except Kiba and Akamaru, though Kiba wasn't paying attention and the pup somehow saw it as normal. Everyone else did hear him though. I said that out loud, didn't I? Hey, everyone has their kinks. Naruto sighed and raised his hand towards Kabuto, causing his team to brace themselves as they grew apprehensive. There was movement through the crowds that only a few noticed, one of them being Sasuke, as he felt the killing intent directed at them. 3 people from what he could tell were moving quickly and heading straight for Naruto. A man jumped above the crowd and threw several kunai at them. Kuromi lazily swiped her tail, deflecting all of them flawlessly, surprising the guy before he smirked, showing it was just a distraction. It was the moment right after they were deflected that Naruto was kicked in the back of the head by a kunoichi and took a punch to the cheek by a one-eyed bandaged man from the front. He had some odd gauntlet on his hand that rung the moment he made contact. The Konoha rookies all got on guard, some shifting into attack stances. The 3 ninja laughed before it died a few seconds later as Naruto just glanced at the fist on his cheek. He didn't budge at all. Well, that you guys sure aren't very friendly. The bandaged man scoffed but didn't remove his fist. You run your mouth too much. You shouldn't take this exam lightly, or you may lose your life. A small, undetectable pulse went out from his gauntlet, but instead of the effect he intended, a crack splintered on it, causing his eyebrow to raise surprised. Naruto glanced at the gauntlet another second curiously before his face shadowed, and he directed glowing white orbs for eyes at the man, causing him to pale as he froze in place from fear. He saw the symbol on the man's headband and snorted. Hell, Tonin, huh? Did you just try to use sound on me? Naruto started to slowly move his hand that was still pointed at Kabuto towards the offending man in front of him as small visible shockwaves started to distort off of it. Someone like me might feel insulted by such a piss-poor display of noise. The girl behind Naruto was about to help out her teammate, but Naruto grabbed her foot instead and threw her like a sack of potatoes at her teammate, hard enough for them to tumble a good bit away, while their third teammate pointed his palms at Naruto, pissed off. Naruto grinned as he eyed the still-standing sound Nin that now found himself unable to move. He shook visibly as he stared at Naruto, hearing a low buzzing go off of him. Naruto's eyes had lightening to a near moonlight bluish-white as he grinned darkly at the guy. You can go on and attack if you want. Come on if you can, I dare you. Just give me a reason to end your heart's beating. Who even are you? Kiba pointed at Naruto wildly. Some still saw him as the idiotic dead last, but this intimidatingly dark person in front of them wasn't matching that image at all. I still had some doubts, but now I'm certain that that is the QB's host. She seems pretty happy in the company of her jailer too. Well, he is good looking, and judging from what we heard, he's quite capable as well. Yujito leaned into her hand as she watched the Leaf Genin. That Leaf punk is pissing me off already. I bet he sees this as some game, and doesn't know what it takes to really be a ninja. A dark-skinned woman by the name of Karui spouted as she glared at the boy and really the group in general. I don't know, he seems cool to me. A cold and collected attractive woman with neck-length blonde hair and enormous breasts, which she had her arms crossed under, making them look even bigger. Her name was Samui. PSSH, ya right, sis? He may think he's hot, but he's nowhere near as hot as me. A male blonde that resembled Samui boosted, causing her to look at her brother oddly. I'm not sure how you expect me to respond to that, Atsui. I think we should be careful, guys. I mean, look at him. Blonde hair? Blue eyes? Strong? Konoha shinobi? What if he's somehow related to the 4th Hokage? What if our Raikage sees him and tries to kill him? But then both villages start to war at each other, but with both being major powers it doesn't end quickly and other villages jump in, starting the fourth shinobi war gak. The dark-skinned male named Omoi started to choke as a sparkling dust flew into his mouth. Fa pumped her fist up in the air in an excited manner. I can't wait to meet him. He's a fun guy. The buzzing warns of danger. Her inner insect demon queen state which just confused Fa. The what? The two teams of Kumo genin around her looked at the girl with the sweat dropped at how she choked Omoi discreetly and acted like nothing happened. Mother is confused? Gaara spoke out, his voice voicing his own confusion as his siblings eyed him warily. I want his blood. He is a threat. He will erase us. Gaara's own demon screamed in his head. Wait, but if he can erase us, then shouldn't we not fight him? Don't talk back to me, boy. Give me his blood. Gaara held his head in pain as the demon continued to scream. All right, you maggots. Line up and shut up. An eruption of smoke happened in the back of the room as a scar-faced man made himself known with a collection of chunin standing behind him. I am Marino Ibisu, your Jonin proctor for the first part of the exams and your worst nightmare. Candidates from Otogekyou and Uzumaki. If you all can't control yourselves, then I'll kick you from this exam so you can take it outside. Got it? Naruto just put his hands in his pockets and chuckled lightly, which annoyed the man. Yeah, I can just find them later if I want. Ignoring how Naruto just not so indirectly threatened the sound shinobi's lives, Ibisu moved on. Everyone fall, and we will be moving on to the next room to start the first part of the exams. I know it's called the Chunin exams, but I still kind of hoped that there would be no written tests. Naruto groaned as they sat in a classroom. He was split up from his team, but that didn't matter since he didn't really rely on them anyway. It wasn't all bad though. He was sitting between two cute girls. He turned to his left to give Hinata a friendly smile. Ah, Hinata-chan. If you're sitting next to me, then it makes this a little easier. The girl smiled shyly and tried to look down to hide her blush. TT, thank YYU and Naruto-kun. You being here makes it easier for me as we dash. Kami, you're even hotter in person. Hinata blinked as a female voice directed at Naruto cut her off. Naruto looked to his right curiously before giving an amused glance as he saw the mint-hair girl next to him. I could say the same to you. My name's Uzumaki Naruto. It's nice to meet someone else like me. He winked at her, causing her eyebrows to raise. Oh, so you really do know? Yep, though here in the village what I am is a secret, just so you know. I understand. But if you're just like me, then do you want to be friends? She wouldn't spoil his secrets, but she still grew up lonely most of her life until recently, so social interaction with those who understood her was something she craved. Naruto's eyes watered comically at the question, causing her to sweat drop, which was quickly replaced with a blush when he clasped his hands around her own smaller ones and leaned in close. Yes, let's be friends. A kunai sailed right past them as Fu squeaked out in surprise. Hey social outcast, shut up so I can start the test. Ebisu yelled at the two while some of the other genin snickered at the two misfits. Hinata was unconsciously glaring at the girl in heated jealous before Ibisu's voice made her remember where she was. Further back in the classroom, Yujito was biting a thumb a little as she gave a weak glare at her teammate. Damn it, Fu, I wanted to get to him first. Ibisu stood firm at the front of the classroom. Alright, trash, the first exam will be a written test. Things will run a little differently here. You will all start off with 10 points and lose a point for each question you answer incorrectly. Teams will pass based on their teammates. If even one of your teammates fail, you all do. That sent ripples through the audience of protests and exclamations that was music to Ibisu's ears. Also, you will be watched for cheating. If you get caught cheating, 2 points will be deducted from your score for each instance. If you are caught 5 times, you fail. Anyone dumb enough to get caught doesn't deserve to be here. Show us your skills as a shinobi. After that, Naruto pretty much ignored the man and they started the tests. Just glancing at the questions already got him going. While I can answer some of these, but for the most part these questions are hard. Do they really expect us to be deep in bookwork studies while WHE are only genin? Then again, he did say a bit too much. You only lose 2 points for each instance of cheating? Normally cheating once is an automatic fail and a second time if you're lucky, yet we get 5 times? It's almost as if it's encouraged. The light bulb went off in his head and he closed his eyes, focusing only on his sense. He felt the motions of everyone in the room. Every twitch, every groan, every scrap against the papers forming a 3D wave image in his head. It looks like people are already cheating. The chunin around the class also seem to be alert, but not as much as they should be. Some of the people here do seem to be answering their tests unusually fast. We have 1 hour for a 10-question test? It must be to give us time to cheat. So how am I going to do this? He opened his eyes and looked at his test. He answered 3 of them, but after that he would be guessing. I can see people's motions, but there are too many in the room for me to do it in detail and still fully act independently. I can see the motions too, but I can't see their answers on the papers of problems already written down. I can help you, Naruto. Kuromi nudged his forehead softly with her paw as she looked down at him. Can you even read? I am not trying to be mean, I just dash dot. And no, I can't. But I can learn. He would have laughed at her sudden wave of insecurity if they had been anywhere else. He supposed the demon or Bijou wouldn't have much of a need for reading unless they interacted heavily with humans, and most of Kuromi's interacts with humans was being sealed by them. You wanting to help makes me happy, but we don't have time for you to learn how to read. She whined a little sadly, which just sounded cute, but then she got another idea of her own. Well, what if I look at the papers and just send you the images of what I see? Naruto whistled at that, which got Ibisa's angry eyes on him, to which he feigned obliviousness and looked away. While Kuromi-chan, you earn a prize for that. That can be extremely useful. So for this I'll write questions down that I am able to feel and will point you in the direction of those who are answering their questions at a fast rate. We have to also try to do it discreetly, as we may be getting watched, but we have to make it look like we aren't doing anything wrong. What's my prize? Not now, I'm taking a test, remember. You're no fun. Do a good job and I'll show you how fun I can be. He bristled as his tone excited her a little, but she coughed and tried to focus on the current job she had of looking around the area, albeit distractedly, at the tests of other shinobi. Naruto grinned before directing his attention back at the test. Now then, let's begin. He pushed his headband down over one eye. One eye off so I can focus on a smaller range, while one eye is still on the test so I can read. We have some particularly excited writers over to our back left, Kuromi-chan. Right. Well, that was extremely easy. In fact, I think we were a lot more cautious than we needed to be. Still, though, we were possibly the only ones in the room that none of the examiners detected at all. Well, they didn't detect me. You could have been a little less obvious. They didn't know what I was doing. You walked across the classroom and sat next to Sasuke's test and stared at it for a good minute. I didn't know it was him. Half the time you humans all look the same to me. Kuromi, that's not the point. Why does it matter? I still did a good job, correct? Yes, you did. Thank you for making things easier for me. He sighed and shook his head as Kuromi trotted behind him through the woods. There was a smoke as Kuromi jumped at him, which he reflexively reacted to, turning around to catch her. She giggled as his face was smothered by her breast. His eye twitched as he deadpanned up at his vixen. I want my reward now then. You don't have to take the next part of your exams until tomorrow morning. Can I at least eat first? No. His sweat dropped at the crazy blunt answer. Shouldn't you be helpful simply out of the kindness of your heart, and not expect things in return like this? It was out of kindness that I even offered to help you, love. Do you think you can just have my assistance without restraint? Are you trying to take advantage of your kindness? Wait, what? So by your rules I'm allowed to take advantage of your body but not your kindness? Yes. Kuromi, that's not how it works. Her ears drooped as she let go of his face and draped her arms around his neck instead. Do you not want to do it? He had to deal with the smell of Kuromi's passive desire for him all day, but now that lust was suffocating him up close. He pulled her in and then smirked with their lips inches apart. Was never going to say no in the first place. She gained a smirk of her own as they closed in on each other. As he ran his hand along her tail, which curled around his arm, she grew more into it. She playfully bit on his tongue before sucking it into her mouth, causing him to growl at the action. He wanted to eat first, but this was fine too. One way or another he was going to eat regardless.